Hey, in the immortal words of Judy Brown, happiness is a choice. And we're happy you're spending some time with us, Chip and Zay, off the rails on a Tuesday. If you're listening to us on the Texas Sports Unfiltered YouTube channel, please like and subscribe. We ask simply. That's how we grow. And that helps us keep our jobs, that kind of thing. And, if you're listening to us on and always, please, if you're watching us on the YouTube channel, give your love and your business to the incredible sponsors around our faces. Centex Tickets, 34 Wine and Spirits, Woods Comfort Systems, McCall Custom Homes, OLIPOP, Cover 3, Leaf Landscape and Supply, Altstadt Brewery, Covert Bee Cave, Salt Traders Coastal Cooking, Audio Visual Consultations. We appreciate them so much. And if you're listening to us on the app, please join in on the fun on the Circuit of the Americas text line at 512-222-9328. In fact, we're going to have a little giveaway on the CODA text line. So let me repeat that text line for you again so that you have it and you can enter our giveaway, a $50 gift card to Cabo Bob's. We'll be doing that here in just a little bit. But the text line, 512-222-9328. Put that in your phones, lock it in so that you're always chilling, hanging with us. Zay, how the heck you doing, man?
Not too shabby, my friend. Shout out to Cabo Bob's $50 gift card that we'll be giving away today. One of the favorite spots of Arch and Hyde Manning. Well, we learned a couple of weeks ago, we interviewed Hyde. Said that him and Arch love to go there, which that one on campus, the UT campus, that one's always popping. You drive by there, it's always, a line going outside the Cabo Bob's. So, yeah, one of my favorite places. My sister and brother-in-law had it catered for their wedding. Yeah, take advantage, folks. Take advantage. But
yeah,
how you doing, my guy?
Oh, doing good. Trey Johnson adds another set of honors to his growing list after being named the SEC Freshman of the Year by the league's coaches yesterday. He is named the SEC Newcomer of the Year and first team All-SEC by the Associated Press. That's kind of the vote of the media because the AP, the world's largest news gathering organization, where I worked for 10 years at the start of my career, is made up of newspapers and radio stations across the world. So kudos to Trey Johnson. Of course, Texas basketball will get going tomorrow against Vanderbilt, about 30 minutes after the noon game between Arkansas and South Carolina.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to tomorrow's show, Chip and Zay, because I'll be doing it in front of my TV. I'll be on point. I'll still be able to focus and lock in and do the show, but also you'll hear some Zay Collier commentary, the game
like
versus Vanderbilt tomorrow. So, you'll probably see me a little more animated, which says a lot because I'm a very animated guy, but a little more animated than usual, especially what's on the line for this Texas basketball team. Like, this is my favorite time of the year, March Madness, and it's devastating to know that most likely Texas Longhorns won't be playing in this year's tournament due to how bad they've been. So bittersweet, but again, love the game of basketball. It's the game that I grew up on, and even if Texas isn't in it, it's still going to be fun.
Yeah, if you're new to the show, welcome to Chip and Zay. We always say, tell your friends and enemies, help them download the app. Like, I literally take people's phones and download it for them and then set an alarm you can set a recurring alarm in your phone for every day at 2 p.m. Central to remind you that your friends Chip and Zay are here chilling with you. It's your show. But if you don't know, Zay is as good as there is. I mean, he's as good as there is on everything, but really on basketball. His dad, Cece, legendary coach in the Austin area, hired Rodney Terry as an assistant, helped him launch his college career as a coach by helping him get a job at Baylor under Harry Miller, right?
Sounds right. For sure, right.
And then, here's RT, head coach of the Texas Longhorns for at least another week.
Yeah.
I mean, but we would suggest tomorrow have the game on without the sound and let Zay react. It'll be kind of like a live look in with us as Texas basketball. Again, sometime the game will probably be underway. Well, no. It'll be just
2:30.
Yeah, about 2:30. About 2:30. So yeah, we got you covered. You want to hear that.
I don't even know how they lost to Vanderbilt the first time.
Yeah, they were up 10.
Yeah, come on. You're up 10 points. You got the game in hand. No Tremont Mark. He didn't play in that game, so maybe that means something going into this one tomorrow in Nashville. But yeah, up by 10 points with about 13 minutes to go in the second half. And Edwards and Hogarth and Carey and those guys just made a run. Had some big-time buckets towards the end of the game. So, yeah, congrats to Trey Johnson. I heard you when I was changing chords and stuff, praising him for the accomplishments that he deserves this year. I think if Cooper Flagg wasn't a guy, Trey Johnson would probably be freshman of the year overall. But that Cooper Flagg, which got to apologize to Cooper Flagg again. To quote Shaquille O'Neal, I didn't know about your game, young man. Yo, he's the real deal. And he's thinking about coming back, Chip. He's thinking about coming back to Duke because if the Hornets end up getting the number 1 pick, he doesn't want to go to that horrible franchise. He's not going to waste his time there, even though he'd be beloved still being in North Carolina. As CB says down there, flag to the Spurs with this Victor Wembanyama thing. I wouldn't be surprised if San Antonio ended up with the number 1 pick either. But that Cooper Flagg fella, he could ball. I thought he was just a newer, modern version of Andre Karolinko. Nah, he's got.
And he reclassified.
Yeah, he's barely 18 years old.
He's young.
He can shoot. He can put the ball on the deck. His ball handling's a lot better than what I gave him credit for. His athleticism with the ball in his hands, dunking on folks. He got a crazy-ass mama, which that's what you need. He got that one. Yeah, he got that mom that she went off on the North Carolina fans because they played in Chapel Hill this past weekend in that classic rivalry. And Cooper had a nasty dunk to kind of seal the game. And Cooper's dad and mom, they were both doing the head tap, which is a signal for you got dunked on. But she looked crazy. And she's been getting a lot of knock on, those gestures. And she fired back on Facebook with a wild status tweet talking about, yo, I could care less what y'all think of me. Carolina fans, y'all dirty. It is what it is. Okay, no wonder he got that dog in him. He got that from mom and pops. Mom and pops got that dog in him. I respect it. That's what you need. So, yeah, I said a couple of weeks ago, I'd like Duke in the first round or second round if somehow Texas finessed their way to the tournament. Nah, never mind. That's not, I don't know why I said that. Y'all should have called me crazy or something and put me on blast for that. That wasn't one of my best takes. It wasn't. I'm willing to admit sometimes the takes, Most of the time, we're on point here on Chip and Zay. Sometimes we got some head scratchers. It is what it is. The best in the world have some, interesting takes. That one, that wasn't one of my best. I won't even lie to you people. Y'all forgive me, because ain't no one trying to see that Duke team right now. They are young, but they got some dogs, old John Shire, and he has a really good chance of fulfilling the legacy of Mike Krzyzewski and winning the championship with this squad.
Hey man, that's admirable.
Thank you.
Thank
you. I was feeling good, but when I said it, it made more sense. That was 3 weeks ago, maybe 2. When I said it, it made more sense because it looked like Texas would still be able to get in. I saw Duke play against Clemson, where Clemson, they put it on them a little bit, and Duke showed their youth. And then ever since then, it hasn't been good. So ACC is still weak. This is the weakest year the ACC's ever been. Only 3 teams are probably going to make it. Maybe North Carolina, if they have a good ACC tournament, that'd make 4. But overall, Louisville, Clemson, Duke, those are the only ACC teams that are in it right now. If you look at, guys like our man Jerry Palm and Joe Lenardi. But yeah, it's weird to see the ACC this down bad. And then when you look at the SEC football conference, that's all right. We keep calling it the football conference. I don't see it. Like, they good at everything. SEC's taking over everything. Softball, baseball, basketball, everything. And it's ironic because, of course, Texas first year in the conference, every single sport's good. But that's why you're here. You want to play against the best. And besides men's basketball, Longhorns have held their own every other sport.
Yeah. Directors Cup, defending Directors Cup champs. And speaking of that, we'll get to the new softball and baseball rankings are out, and Texas softball still 1 or 2 depending on the poll that you're looking at. Baseball, Perfect Game has Texas ranked 6th. The USA Today coaches poll has Texas at 9. So does Baseball America. The National Collegiate Baseball Writers Association has Texas at 10. And D1 Baseball has Texas at 11. So those rankings just came out, and Jim Schlossnagle, his team will take the field tonight against UT Arlington. They've won 13 straight since losing that opener to Louisville in walk-off, 10th inning walk-off. And of course, this will be their last game tonight before SEC play. Texas will head to Mississippi State, and the softball team will head to Florida to take on the preseason number 1 team in the nation, the Florida Gators. Welcome to the SEC, Texas. You get to go on the road to open SEC play. So let me ask you this. Oh, go ahead.
No, bring it on.
So,
like, hell yeah.
It sounds like there are some other college basketball jobs coming open, like Clemson, NC State.
Kevin Keith, you see how they did, my man? He just took him to the Final Four.
What's going on?
In the Final Four. And you can him?
You can him?
You
like
whack him?
Just whack him?
That's cold-blooded, man. That's cold-blooded. I don't know what NC State's record is, but to take a team to the before the ACC tournament, by the way, which is why he kept his job last year. But that 2024 NC State team, to take them to the Final Four, win the ACC tournament, just to can them, man, that's cold world right there. But you go 5-15 in the conference, 12-19 overall.
Have you heard the rumblings about Will Wade in Texas?
I have.
Okay, so I'm now convinced that that's all coming from Will Wade. That, yeah, he's hot. He's got it going at McNeese. And he had a little, he got caught up in that FBI Adidas investigation that the U.S. Attorney's Office ended up just abandoning because all they were doing was putting assistant coaches in jail for what? Now stuff that's legal. And it's ridiculous. So I think Will Wade wants the Texas job, and I think he's kind of telling everyone that. But he went to Clemson. So I think he'd be happy going to Clemson. Everyone's like, Will Wade. I'm like, no.
Yeah, I don't know. I've heard Quinn Snyder too. I've heard that name floating around a little bit. And I'm like, Quinn Snyder. Okay. Which he's kind of nutty. He's one of those dudes that, looks like he has an 8-ball in his pocket. Again, he has that look about him. Like just a little disheveled.
Yeah.
Sleeps in the car type stuff. Stays up 24 hours watching film. Like he just has that look about him. I don't know. He's an interesting type of coach.
He's the head coach of the Atlanta Hawks.
That's what I'm saying. That ain't going too well right now.
Yeah. I mean, they're 5 games out of the playoffs. They're the number 7 team in the East. But that doesn't make a ton of sense.
No.
Except let me see here. I mean, he was with the Austin Toros, right?
Yeah. He was in Utah for a little bit, the Jazz.
Yeah.
He's a Duke guy, played under Krzyzewski, which, you come from the Krzyzewski tree, that take you a long way. But I don't know.
That one doesn't feel right.
Who knows? RT can still make a run, y'all. We don't know yet. RT can make a run.
Fair enough.
Win 4 straight games, win the SEC tournament, which, according to North Carolina State, it really doesn't matter how you win your conference tournament and go to the Final Four. You get canned the next year, but we don't know.
Well, we've got NFL free agency is still going bonkers, and the Cowboys have signed Javonte Williams, which does that get your blood flowing? Javonte Williams. Woo!
Right.
Because you're losing Rico Dowdle. They've re-signed Cavante Turpin.
Okay.
Exactly. Everyone's looking at the Eagles and the Commanders making moves, and the Cowboys are just idling alone. The Cowboys even have money under the cap. I don't get what I don't get the plan. It doesn't feel like there is a plan.
Yeah, what plan?
What plan?
Yeah, well, it's just
So,
hey, if they get Matthew Golden, then okay, we got some cooking. They can find Matthew Golden somewhere in the draft early because he's going to be scooped up real quick. What are they? The 12th pick, Cowboys? Sounds right. Yeah, go ahead. If they're the 12th pick, pick up Matthew Golden, Houston native, doesn't have to move that far. Basically been in Texas his whole life. I'm sure he'd love to stay in Texas. And all right, now CeeDee Lamb ain't getting all that attention. Dak Prescott has another big-time player to throw to. And Matthew Golden could save everything that Jerry's messed up these last few years. Now, that's a lot on Matthew Golden, but hey, why not? Why not?
Man, it feels like they got to rebuild this thing from the inside out.
Come on.
Offensive. You just lost old Zach Martin.
Yeah, keyword old.
Is now the center for the Commanders.
That's not good.
Cowboys former center over there. They don't have, you got Tyler Smith at tackle. I don't know. They're paying Javonte Williams $3 million. Like, that's a prove-it contract. 1 year, $3 million. I mean, you might as well just
that's a steal to me.
A cup of spit,
Yo, what?
I mean, yeah, we're excited about you. Here's $3 million.
Yeah.
That's good. It's good. Let them come in and blow everybody's doors off.
That's right. Shock the world.
He needs an offensive line.
Yeah. They gave Odigizua how much money? They blew the bag on him.
What they give him?
Was it like 80 mil? 4 years, 80 mil?
Yeah, DeMarcus Lawrence is a free agent. Let me see what they did there. They gave him.
You trying to get rid of Micah? Said Micah's a distraction.
Yeah. Well,
Micah's a big time player. I also saw a video recently of Micah petting a lion, hanging out with a lion, like big ass Mufasa looking SOB, petting him, and the lion seemed calm. The lion was yawning and stuff. I like that. I ain't gonna lie. Micah won with nature. And we also said something's wrong with that medulla oblongata. So him being that close to a lion and petting them and stuff, I never do that. I don't care how calm and tame that lion is. Absolutely not. Like, I'm sure lions like dark meat anyway. So I'm not even going to risk something like that. But Micah said, screw it. Like, I'm not put in this situation very often. I'm going to have a good time. Let me pet this lion.
I mean, you're making my case for me.
I'm not.
I mean,
he's a different type of guy. You need that.
Well, meanwhile, the Eagles traded CJ Gardner-Johnson to the Texans for Kenyon Green. I think the Texans got the better end of that deal.
Well, duh.
John McClain comes on here every week talking about how bad Kenyon Green has been. CJ Gardner-Johnson still got a little tread on the tire. I think that was a brilliant move by DeMeco Ryans, the Texans. I'm becoming more and more of a Texans fan.
When that happened?
Today.
with them picking up CJ Gardner-Johnson, who's kind of a nut.
He's kind of a nut.
Yeah, he's kind of nut.
That secondary, the Texans secondary is awesome.
Yeah, they're really good, which is why adding him.
You're adding some depth. Right. D'Amico can keep everybody under control.
Yeah.
D'Amico knows what he's doing. D'Amico the boss. So let's go. Speaking of bosses, we talked a little bit about this yesterday, Steve Sarkisian, and him explaining the new spring format at Texas with no spring game. I think people forget, yeah, he's got a lot of new players, but he's got a lot of new coaches. 27 newcomers, a record 22 freshmen, early enrollees. And then you got like a half dozen new coaches, because we talked about Dwayne Aquina and Chad Scott and Mark Orfe and Alan Clark, but he promoted Mike Bamonte to passing game coordinator and assistant quarterbacks coach. Mike Bamonte was an analyst for Texas the last 4 years who started getting offers for other jobs, and Sarkisian wanted to keep him. So he got promoted, and you got Kenodo Hudson, who was an analyst, who's been promoted to nickel cornerbacks coach. Jason McIndoe coming from Oklahoma State as an analyst. He's helping Banks with the tight ends. And so, Sark's going to condense it. Instead of practicing on 2 fields, they'll be on 1 so that all the coaches can evaluate the players at the same time. And Sark can kind of get all these new coaches up to speed on how they do things. So I still don't know that's, completely why we can't have no spring game, but,
I don't know why Sark just says, I want to rest my guys. Like, I don't know why you can't just say that. Like, will people take that the wrong way and think, oh, they're college kids, like they're youthful, they got all this energy, play them. Like, I don't, because he does refer to, like, we play all these games and stuff. I'm going to need to play everybody the first 4 games of the season before SEC play starts, just to make sure, guys have a little bit of bump out there, because you just never know when you're going to need them. Like, he brought up Trevor Gooseby. He's in this situation filling in for Kelvin Banks and Cam Williams, which, again, that's tough to do. Like, salute Trevor Gooseby. He did the best he could, did a really good job in the A&M game, but maybe he should have played in the Cotton Bowl with the way Cam Williams looked. But again, that's a different conversation for a different day. I don't really – there's no real reason that he's given the media that makes the most sense. Like, I don't know. Or you can just finally be like, I don't want to do it. Like, I'd rather him say that too. Like, I just don't want to do it. It's going to get in the way with what we're trying to do, which I guess he can't say that either, because that'd rub folks the wrong way. But at this point, I'm completely fine with how he wants to do it, how he wants to go about spring, whether it's OTAs or getting the new coaches acclimated / the new players, the early enrollees, the guys that transferred in. We know it's not happening, so whatever. Got fan appreciation day. Let them sign some autographs, take some flicks. That'd be cute and, that wholesome. But if this means that this team will be better because of it, then go ahead, Steve Sarkisian. Like, you're the head coach. This is why you get paid millions and millions of dollars to make these very difficult decisions. So how he's changed the culture, yes, Cam Newton, he's changed the culture, bruh. how he's changed the culture, I'm with it. Because we saw Tom Herman, Charlie Strong, yeah. Steve Sarkisian doing his thing.
God, everyone listening to the sound of our voices right now who's followed Texas for 10 years thinks back to the Charlie Strong era and is like, what was that?
What was it?
Like the coach who followed Mac Brown at Texas was Charlie Strong. 3 straight losing seasons. And he was let go. He was replaced by Tom Herman, who had 4 straight winning seasons, but was such a douche that he got fired. And then in comes Steve Sarkisian.
Why we gotta call Tom a douche? He just wanted the players to drink more water, so the P level was clear, nice and clear. You know, that's all he wanted. Yeah, he wanted to put the guys on the diet if they didn't succeed the way that he thought the success should have happened. You know, some of y'all get high quality breakfast. Some of y'all maybe a slice of toast, no butter. It's just, you know, he had a different way of going about things.
Man, he sure did. I'm thinking back to who was it? Jordan Phillips. Oh, man. There was a defensive line recruit who had committed to Herman when he was at Houston. Then he decommitted, ended up obviously at Texas. And let's see, his first name was Jordan. I know that. And I want to say, what was Herman's first year? 17? And so Herman like gets on him about being overweight. And the kid transfers to Missouri and is an NFL player. Like, what are you doing? Why are you
fat shaming the kid?
Why are you needlessly fat shaming the guy? There's a reason, and maybe he knew that the kid couldn't stand him and was already thinking about leaving. But yeah, just stupid stuff. He thought
there's a way you could go about it.
Huh?
You know, you don't have to fully fat shame them. Like, you don't have to say, hey, your fat ass needs to drop a few LBs. Like, you can't be saying all that. Like, there's a nice way to say it. Like, hey, man, we want to get you at your peak.
Jordan Elliott.
Level.
Jordan Elliott.
Yeah.
He signed. He was the number 2 rated player in Texas's 2016 recruiting class behind Brandon Jones, the safety. And Herman dogged Jordan Elliott about his weight. And he goes to Missouri. He's the NFL guy. And, you know, Herman just, he tried to be Urban Meyer. And you can't. The other thing, too, is he brought all of his coaches with him.
The homies.
From Houston.
Yeah.
And there were good coaches in there, but there were some who probably needed to be replaced before he replaced them. So Herman was the smartest guy in the room, which is always dangerous. Yeah, Jordan Elliott played 5 years in the league. He's still going. He played the first 4 years with the Browns, and now he's with the San Francisco 49ers. Hell, he started 13 games last year for the 49ers. But, you know, there's a way to go about it. I like the way Sarkisian goes about it. He's always moving it forward. Like talking about, we got a new center, we got a new quarterback, we got some other new offensive line. So we're gonna rethink everything. Neil Brown, who called offensive plays at West Virginia, is now in there. Chad Scott, who was the offensive coordinator at West Virginia, you know, lined up practice every day, was the run game coordinator at West Virginia. That's a good mind to have in the room. We mentioned Jason McIndoe, who was with Gundy as the tight ends and fullbacks coach. So you got all these new voices in there, and we'll see. We'll see what Sarkisian comes up with. Some new wrinkles, some new, you know, some new schematic advantages. That's what they're looking for, schematic advantages. Mm-hmm. Something to get in from first and goal from the one. Is that too much?
It always comes back to that. I swear, we're going to be talking about that for the next 10 to 15 years, I feel like. It just always comes back to that.
God, I hope not.
I hope he
cashes it in. I hope he wins one before 10 to 15 years from now.
By the way, speaking of Tom Herman moments, remember this one?
Oh my gosh. Both of you guys. You remember that? Whoopsie. Whoops. Oh, y'all were filming me. You think that was an LHN director who was like, quick, change? Because they could see it. They could see what he was doing.
Oh, man, the double bird.
Double birds.
Thomas.
Double birds.
Bruh.
T. Herman,
legend. Him and Urban were in the strip clubs. They were popping bottles, champagne, bubbly, making it rain on women named Cinnamon. Legends. Bring the recruits in. They need to see this. They need to see how we get down. We win and we party hard. We need that. Yeah, you might get fat shamed every once in a while. It's all right. Deal with it. You want to win? Okay, I'm going to talk about your weight. If you're too fat, I'm going to talk about your weight. That's how Tom got down, man.
So Tom, in 4 seasons at Texas, Tom Herman went 32-18. In 2 seasons at Florida Atlantic, he went 6-16.
Yeah.
He gone,
huh? Well, and he was trying to fight opposing coaches and stuff, and having to go back and say something, a little piece of his mind, things like that. Eddie on that Ozempic too. I can't trust that either.
Who?
Tom Herman. You saw him this year. You saw what he looked like. That dude is on Ozempic.
I hope he's okay.
Not natural. I mean, I hope he's all right too. But
you're just blasting him for taking weight loss.
Hey, how can he fat shame Jordan Elliott when he on Ozempic? Come on.
Allegedly.
That's rich. Allegedly. That's real rich.
There you go again with your just statements. All right, when do you want to do the giveaways, eh? Because we're doing the giveaway today, the $50 Cabo Bob's gift card on the Coda text line. You have to send the answer in on the Coda text line, which is 512-222-9328. You want to do it in the 3 o'clock hour?
Yeah, let's do it 3 o'clock hour. Okay,
we'll do it in the 3 o'clock hour. We got Chris Hummer joining us. Hank South, who's normally on Tuesdays, he's got stuff he's doing. So we'll get him on later in the week.
Southside.
And, and Hummer. We love our Tuesdays with Hummer. And again, we'll be doing a $50 Cabo Bob giveaway on the Coda text line in the 3:00 hour. Coda text line 512-222-9328. We will ask you a question, and then the first person to send in the correct answer will win. So be ready, kids. Be nimble. You don't have to get ready if you stay ready. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I like that. I
like that?
Man. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Ah, damn.
Uh-oh.
Just a video popped up of Xavier Worthy proposing to, was it homegirl that tried to get him caught up?
Wait.
Oh, not recent. I think it's an old video. I'm just scrolling. I think it's just an old, yeah. I think it's just an old video of X proposing to homegirl. I hope this ain't the same one. I don't know.
Make sure it's old.
I'm not gonna play it.
No.
But yeah, that's
man. Yeah.
I hope X going to therapy. That's one of those you need therapy. There's nothing wrong with that. I know folks, who call it the shrink and stuff. It could get a bad rep, especially old heads. They think that having faith in something could just take care of all those problems. That's not true. Sometimes you got to talk it out with someone that's a professional in the business. This is a lot. Not only do you get embarrassed in the Super Bowl, but you come home, you think everything's cool, and who knows how long homegirl's been unfaithful. Who knows? It could have been all season long. He's gone on road trips. Patrick calling them saying, hey, we gotta watch film. We gotta practice. We gotta work on these routes. So X has to tell her, I gotta go. Patrick's calling. We answer the Patrick. Andy Reid hitting him up all the time. X is just trying to be a professional. And she out here on the couch. All right, whatever. Doing her own thing. Leaving.
I mean, you absolutely crack me up.
I'm just
saying. My man Perzay, TMZ, he just fills in the blanks. He just here's how I think it went down from the comfort of my living room. I have not talked to anyone close to Xavier Worthy. I have not talked to anyone close to his ex-fiance. I've not talked to Nikki, his mother. But here's what I think happened from the comfort of my living room.
I love to talk to Nikki. I love to see what's going on in Nikki's mind because Nikki, what a woman. But I'm just saying, my man Xavier, I'm trying to make sure he gets help, Chip. I'm trying to make sure he's good because what you've told us, he's just out here blowing the bag and stuff.
Burning it.
That's not good. I don't like hearing that.
Nope.
And he was probably burning it on her. And now she out here wilding in these streets.
If he was burning it on her, she wouldn't have been cheating on him.
We don't know that. These girls scandalous. I told you yesterday. We don't know that.
Oh, look. Hummer's here to rescue us. Thank God. The one and only Chris Hummer, National College Football Analyst, transfer portal expert. Chris Hummer of 24/7 Sports. Hummer, how you doing?
Good, man. Good. What'd I rescue y'all from?
Oh, my God. Zay was giving us his philosophy on what was going on with Xavier Worthy and his ex-fiance. We hope now ex-fiance. Zay was just like,
I just
think
want to make
this
sure he
happened and
gets
that
therapy.
happened. Huh?
I'm just trying to make sure he's getting therapy, Hummer. That's a lot. He's gone through a lot. Losing in the Super Bowl, this whole fiasco in Williamson County, which, Hummer, you lived in the ATX, still do, I feel like. You know Williamson County, they don't play. You know that. So I'm just trying to make sure my man Xavier Worthy is locked in so the Kansas City Chiefs can have a bounce-back season and maybe get back to the Super Bowl. That's all. I'm looking out for my guy.
All right. I mean, Hummer, unless you have a thought on Xavier Worthy.
I have no thoughts on Xavier Worthy. I'm good.
Yeah. All right. So, Hummer, look, your fans are all over you. The Rex St. Charles was reading your article on Connor Wegman. And tell us about Connor Wegman, the one-time Texas A&M starting quarterback whose dad owns Cotton Holdings, which is the sponsor of the Texas A&M Lone Star Showdown. And Connor Wegman is where?
He is a Coug. He's a Houston Cougar.
This is the Kyle Allen. This is the Kyle Allen plan.
It worked out pretty well for Kyle Allen. Went to the NFL. Went to visit with Connor maybe like 2 weeks ago now. Down in Houston, he's looking good. Lost about like 10 pounds since he left College Station. Cut out some Frenchies for anybody that's been down there in Houston. It's a great.
Oh, Connor, you're tripping.
Yeah, just cut it out. Can't eat it anymore. But no, Connor seems to be doing pretty good. I think the key takeaway from that article was just how injured he was last year. I'd kind of heard rumblings about that, but he had declined to talk about it for most of last season. But he was basically getting Toradol shots like once a week in order to stay eligible. The A&M staff actually wanted him to sit for all of non-conference play after he got hurt against Notre Dame. He kind of declined to do so after missing the season before that. He ended up injuring his bicep because he was adjusting his mechanics. And his mechanics got all out of whack last year. A big part of the reason why he ended up getting sat for Marcel Reed is because his footwork and his mechanics ended up being totally off because of the injury. So he's starting fresh in Houston, and I think those around the Houston program are really optimistic about what he can bring to the table. I mean, I say this all the time, and I know we talked about this a little going into last year. Like, I thought the game he had against Miami 2 years ago was one of the best quarterback games I've seen in a long time, and that potential is still in Connor Wegman. So won't happen in the Lone Star Showdown, but when the Cougs and Chips Mustangs play next year, he'll have to watch out.
Well, he got caught. He got caught in a coaching change, and that's always tricky. Go ahead, Zay.
Yeah, like who would you take right now, Hummer? Would you take Connor Wegman or would you take Marcel Reed?
I think it depends on the context, I suppose. I would take Marcel Reed's supporting cast for sure, especially after what they added in the portal. But I would bet long term on Connor Wegman. I think he still has the talent. He's been hurt is the problem. I still think he brings a lot to the table as a passer and a processor when healthy, and we just haven't seen that very often the last 2 years. So I'm very bullish on him, but I understand why Texas A&M built around Marcel Reed. He's somebody that fits what Colin Klein likes to do really well. In terms of his ceiling, Marcel Reed's ceiling is enormous. But I think for next year, I would not be surprised if Connor Wegman ended up having better numbers than Marcel Reed.
All right, Hummer, you've sent me scrambling to the 24/7 Sports Texas A&M Recruiting Index to see who they've signed in the portal other than Amari Nyblack. They added Jonah Wilson, wide receiver from Houston.
Yep.
Jordan Shaw, cornerback from Washington. Tyler Onyedim, defensive lineman from Iowa State. KC Concepcion, wide receiver
probably
from
one of the top 5 receivers in the portal, probably.
NC State. man, they've hit the portal hard. 14 transfers, Hummer.
Yeah, it's a really good portal class. Although their receiver portal class, which had been among the best in the country, has taken some hits recently. Obviously, Micah Hudson's status with the program is up in the air. And in addition to that, their other top receiver Mario Craver, was recently arrested. He was a freshman at Mississippi State last year. So we'll see what that looks like. But I mean, they still have Terry Bussey on that roster. They also brought in Keyshawn Johnson from this class. They have another top receiver coming in as well. I'm forgetting off the top of my head his name. So it's not like A&M lacks receiving options for Marcel Reed. But yeah, they loaded up in the portal in an effort to be a lot better next year.
Just curious, and I know my man Zay, who we call Per Zay or TM Zay, would want to know, was Mario Craver arrested in College Station, or was he back in wherever he's from?
I believe he was cited by university police for a vape pen, maybe, which is like the lowest level of me caring about you getting arrested. I would argue you probably shouldn't care at all, but yeah, I think it was in College Station.
Okay.
Dang,
yeah, he'll be fine. He'll be in uniform. He'll be in uniform opening day, Zay. Craver was good against Texas.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. If he is on the field, and sometimes that's an if. He's a dynamic player. He was probably their best player at times last season. He's just one of those guys that has to figure it out off the field sometimes. We'll put it that way.
Yeah. All right, Homer. So we know Texas opens up with Ohio State, rematch of the Cotton Bowl. What are you hearing from just Ohio State right now that has a lot to, I wouldn't say fix, but Chip Kelly's gone. You bring in Matt Patricia. You lose your quarterback, Will Howard. Everybody's so high on Julian Sand. How do you think the Buckeyes are going to be this year?
Really good. I mean, obviously, a lot of it's going to depend on Julian Sand, but Ohio State brought in two of the best offensive tackles in the portal this cycle. They still have Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, Brandon Enos. As long as Julian Sand is good, and history suggests he's going to be very good, I think that offense will be just fine. I think defense is actually the bigger question for the Buckeyes. I think they lose 9 starters, lost Jim Knowles, their defensive coordinator, to Penn State. So they're going to have to replace a ton of key contributors on that side of the ball. They didn't really bring in any transfers. They're going to be totally reliant on some of their younger players. So I don't really know what that side of the ball look like, especially their front four, which was their strength. But I have a lot of faith in the way Ohio State recruits and the way Ohio State develops. So I think they'll be very good, and that'll be a heck of an opening test for Texas.
Hummer, I forget if we've asked you about Jim Naggie going to Oklahoma from the Senior Bowl. Senior Bowl director Jim Naggie is GM at OU. Do you have thoughts on this?
I just think it's a little bit of the NFLification of college football. We're seeing schools want NFL experience on the general manager side of the ball. Some of that, I think, is to manage the rev share contracts that are coming up. And obviously, every school is going to have probably between $12 and $20 million next year to manage on the Power 4 level, which is a significant amount of money. Sometimes I think part of it's about perception. As an athletic director, you almost look like you're behind if you don't have an NFL name coming in. But Jim Naggie's obviously very well respected. These college jobs are attractive. College GMs are pushing the $1 million mark, and in some cases making over the $1 million mark at this point. It's a lucrative position. And if you're Oklahoma and you haven't necessarily had the results you wanted under Brett Venables, and you're the athletic director there, Michael Castiglione, and you want to make a splash, like a name like Jim Naggie is a really good way to show you're investing in that program and you're trying to bring stability to that program. So he is just a part of a continuing trend, but I don't really know what effect Jim Naggie is going to have on Oklahoma's win-loss record next year necessarily.
Yeah.
Hummer, Alabama, they're going through quarterback change right now. Jalen Milroe going off to the NFL, and they got a few to choose from. They got Ty Simpson, Austin Mack, and then Duncanville's finest and Keelan Russell. Who do you think is going to end up winning that job for Kalen DeBoer and the Crimson Tide?
I don't know. I think that's like one of the truly intriguing parts of spring ball this year. I would term Ty Simpson the favorite, like this very slight favorite. He's been in that program forever. Behind the scenes, I know they're a really big fan of Ty Simpson, but Austin Mack's kind of in a similar boat. Like, I don't know if y'all remember how all that worked or how all that played out when Kalen DeBoer came in for Nick Saban, but essentially, like, Alabama took Austin Mack over Julian Sand in a lot of ways. They went out and right away, like one of the first moves Kalen DeBoer made was taking Austin Mack from Washington, who was a top 75 recruit himself, who signed under Kalen DeBoer. There's a lot of faith in what Austin Mack can be under Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb. So I think that's going to be a true battle this spring. And alongside Notre Dame, like one of like the two places I really don't have a strong feel for how the quarterback battle is going to go exiting spring. And I think spring practice will actually play a really large role in determining how that works, which is rare and rare in this era when everybody seems to have a transfer quarterback coming in.
Yeah, with Riley Leonard moving on, what does Notre Dame's quarterback look like?
I think it's going to be a Steve Angeli we saw against Georgia for a drive, basically. Was very successful, helped turn that game around for Notre Dame, helped spark them at the end of the first half. I think he went 6 for 7 against Georgia's defense and really gave Notre Dame momentum going the second half into an eventual win. So I would say he has the slight edge there, but I definitely would not sleep on CJ Carr. He was a true freshman this past season. He's actually Lloyd Carr's grandson. For those of y'all who don't remember Lloyd Carr, he was the head coach at Michigan for a long time.
Yeah, he's the guy who benched Brady for Drew Henson.
He did bench Brady for Drew Henson. Cowboy legend Drew Henson. But yeah, I mean, he is somebody with lofty expectations upon him. He's considered Notre Dame's future. And I think Steve Angeli and CJ Carr will be a really interesting battle this spring. And like very much one to watch if you're a team with a needed quarterback, because if Steve Angeli gets a whiff that he might lose that battle, like it would not shock me at all to see him move on. So that'll be an interesting battle to see how Notre Dame manages that.
Hummer, I don't know if I even dare ask you about your Cowboys and their inactivity in free agency. Have you just given up on the Cowboys, or do you have feelings?
Oh, I mean, Dak Prescott has all the money already, so we can't afford to spend any of it. So it's fine. We got to save up for Micah Parsons getting $41 million because Jerry Jones waited again to pay his guys. So very excited for a half the cap going to Dak Prescott, Micah Parsons, and CeeDee Lamb. So it'll be good.
I'm becoming a Texans fan because
Jay Carr seems great.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm ready for the Rangers to start the season. That starting rotation will be nasty. Don't have to watch the Mavericks anymore. Don't have to think about the Cowboys. Dallas Stars made a huge trade the other day. Let's go Stars. It's almost Masters season. We got plenty of sports to follow. That's not the NFL or the NBA.
Things are looking up. Looking up.
Hummer, when you think about Lenora Sellers in South Carolina this year, a lot of optimism and expectation for Shane Beamer and his crew. How do you think they're going to be? I mean, they got a really good defense, but they're also losing some guys like that big-time strong safety that wowed everyone at the combine. But overall, how do you think South Carolina's going to do this year?
I think a lot of it depends on Lenore Sellers. He is somebody with an immense level of hype. And I think he was very good last year. I mean, I'm sure y'all have had Blake Brockermeyer on the program. I was talking to him about he does a top 100 players list in college football every offseason, and he's got Lenore Sellers a heck of a lot higher than even I would have anticipated. We're talking about like a top 10 guy in the sport. I don't know if I'm quite that bullish on Lenore Sellers, but if he can elevate his game to that level, South Carolina can be very good. But there's a lot to make up for South Carolina. You mentioned the safety that they had going off at the NFL draft, but they had one of the best defensive lines and defenses in college football, period. Kyle Kennard was a menace coming off the edge. They had 2 draft picks in the interior of the defensive line, both of whom are gone. It's a pretty big reset on that side of the ball for South Carolina. So if they want to equal what they accomplished last year, potentially even compete for a college football playoff spot, the offense is going to have to take a major step. The offensive line has to get much better. It's been horrendous the last 2 years. They have to find a go-to receiver, which they haven't really had since Juice Wells left the program 2 years ago. So I think it's a to be decided. I think South Carolina is going to make a bowl, but unless Lenora Sellers becomes one of the absolute best players in the sport, which is possible, I think you could be in for a little bit of a regression in Columbia.
Yeah. Is there a team you think is in the SEC who's poised to make a big jump up? Like we saw from Vanderbilt, even Florida last year?
I don't know if anybody can repeat what Vanderbilt did necessarily, but if I had to pick a team that I could see make a jump, we're talking about a multi-win jump. Auburn would be the team I'd spotlight after going 5-7 next year. A lot of that will depend on Jackson Arnold. A lot of that will depend on the offensive line, much of which was constructed in the portal coming together. But Auburn's going to have the best pair of receivers in the SEC and Eric Singleton and Cam Coleman. Auburn's going to have 2 of the best offensive tackles in the SEC, brought in both of them via the portal. Auburn already had a top 25 defense nationally, and most of those guys are coming back. Like, Auburn is built to win now. It's just a question of whether Hugh Freeze and his staff can put his team in the right positions to get there, because they really shot themselves in the foot a lot last season. I think they led the SEC in turnovers. Team was a lot better than their final record would have shown. So in kind of a put up or shut up year for Auburn, like, that would be the team I'd spotlight. It would not shock me at all if Auburn would have ended up doubling their win total next year and won 10 games. I think they have the talent to do so. It's just a matter of not making mistakes at times when you can't.
Is Jackson Arnold the guy there, or are they going to go a different route?
Jackson Arnold will be the guy unless he looks really bad in spring ball. They brought Jackson Arnold to be the guy. They paid Jackson Arnold to be the guy. They also brought in Elijah Brown from Stanford, who started some games in his career, but he was coming in mostly to push Jackson Arnold, not necessarily to start. So they kind of bet their season around Jackson Arnold. There weren't a ton of impact players in the transfer portal at quarterback this cycle. They zeroed in on Jackson Arnold pretty quickly. It's going to be on Jackson Arnold to make that offense run. And maybe I'm just blinded by what I remember seeing at Denton Guyer back in the day, but I really think Jackson Arnold has the ability to be very good. But the context around him was so poor at Oklahoma next year. It's just going to be on him to get his confidence back and to look like the 5-star recruit I think a lot of us remember him being just 3 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, Hugh Freeze, he stuck with Peyton Thorne last year, and I didn't get that at all. But you're right. I mean, Jackson Arnold, there's a reason he was a 5-star. He was an excellent quarterback at Guyer. And then Brent Venables loses Jeff Lebby to Mississippi State and promotes Seth Luttrell. Brent Venables has made, and it's not like Seth Luttrell had a ton of talent. The whole receiver core was on injured reserve, and the offensive line was a mess.
A disaster. It was a disaster.
So, I mean, it's all going to fall back on Venables, but yeah, Hugh Freeze, I don't know. Do you trust their offensive coaching, Hummer?
I don't know. We'll see. I don't mean that in a negative way. I don't think Hugh Freeze's offense is translated at Auburn the way it used to at Ole Miss back in the day. I think offense has evolved over the years, and I'm not saying that Hugh Freeze hasn't. But we'll see what happens with a better offensive line this year that a really bad one last year. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you look at Auburn statistically last year, if you look at things like success rate and yards per play, they were actually very good. I think Auburn had a top 25 offense last season in terms of yards per play. I think they were top 35 nationally in offensive success rate, which just measures how good you are from down to down. That wasn't the issue. It was the inconsistency via turnovers, either from Peyton Thorne or fumbles, or just the inability to convert in the red zone was also a really big issue for Auburn. So if they can clean up in a couple little areas, like I think they can be very good. There's a lot of new pieces coming in, especially offensively. I don't know how it's going to gel, but I think the ceiling is very high from Auburn. At least the ceiling is higher for Auburn than it's been in half a decade since before Brian Harsin took over that job. Like, this is a team that can win now. Will they win now? I don't know, but they have the ability to do so for sure.
Have you done any quarterback power rankings preseason way too early in the SEC?
I have not, but I'm sure our guy Brad Crawford has.
BC, because
pull it up.
Carson,
I guarantee if I pull it up.
Carson Beck leaves Georgia. You've got, Arch replacing Quinn. You got Nico Iamaleava. DJ Lagway, obviously, at Florida, who probably is number one.
No, I think number one's probably Garrett Nussmeier.
Nussmeier at LSU.
Would probably be at least in my rankings. I would probably have those guys 1 and 2, and then I'd probably start thinking about somebody like Arch around the number 3 mark. But I know some people will have him higher right away. But I think it's Nussmeier and Sellers is 1 and 2 right now.
Sellers was also very, very good because of Rocket Sanders.
Yep.
Like, they were an incredible 1-2 punch. It was like Vince Young and Cedric Benson.
Oh, let's relax. Good grief.
What?
Wow.
Lenore's big, strong runner,
All right.
He's growing. He's not all
I mean, I will agree. From a physicality standpoint, Lenoris is a huge human, and Rocket Sanders is also a 240-pound bag. So I understand, but not quite the heights of success.
Right. He's not a finished product like Vince, but
Cedric Benson rolling over in his grave right now. Come on, man.
Hey, I'm giving love to Ced B. They were a lethal tandem. Anyway, Hummer, we don't know yet the South Carolina running game without Sanders?
Yeah, it'll be fine. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Rasul Faison. Probably not. He was at Utah State last year. They got him in the portal, but like if you talk to scouts around the country, I guess like personnel folks around the country, like Rasul Faison was like the number 1 or the number 2 back in the portal for a lot of people. He's got NFL potential. I think he's going to be just fine for them. A bit of a different runner, not nearly as big as Rocket Sanders was. I think he's like 5 foot, like 195 pounds or something like that. But he is somebody who can, it's like a 40-pound difference. But he is somebody from a slashing standpoint and from a big play perspective that I think is going to be able to step in right away and be not only good in the SEC, but one of the top backs in the league. I think he's that kind of back for South Carolina. So
see, that's why we love talking to Hummer. He knows stuff about Rasul Faison from Utah State in the portal, going to freaking South Carolina to replace Rocket Sanders and keep Lenora Sellers cooking. Love that. Go ahead, Zay. Sorry.
Hummer, last year we were talking about Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss with all the transfers and money that they spent in Oxford. This is the year. This is the year that they should get to the college football playoff, make some noise, and just do some serious things in the SEC and beyond. We didn't quite see that. Now, with Jackson Dart going to the NFL, if you're Lane Kiffin, where do you go from here?
Well, they're going to go to a guy named Austin Simmons, who honestly is like a fascinating story. If y'all don't know his background, essentially, he not only reclassified, which is a trend that we see a lot in college football, he reclassified twice. I think he enrolled at Ole Miss as a 16-year-old, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 17, just right after his, I believe, sophomore year of high school. He is one of the youngest players in college football still, and he's going into his redshirt sophomore season. He's originally committed to Florida. He flipped to Ole Miss very last second when he reclassified. He sat behind Jackson Dart last year. He played a little bit for Jackson Dart last year when he got hurt, and Ole Miss saw enough from him in year one that they're willing to kind of bank their 2025 season on him. I'm sorry, he's been in college football for 2 years now, but like, anyway, he's still one of the younger players in the sport. But yeah, I think there's a lot of internal belief in Austin Simmons. He performed really well last season. Ole Miss made some quieter moves in the portal this offseason, but they got some really good receivers, including a guy like Deshaun Strebling, who was coming over from Oklahoma State. I don't know if Texas fans remember him, but he was Oklahoma State's #1 receiver this past season, basically. I think Ole Miss went more bargain bin shopping than anything else, but they're pretty bullish on Simmons. And I think that defense is going to have one of the best players in college football in Centarian Perkins next season. He's ironically very similar to Harold Perkins over at LSU. He's an undersized edge rusher who simply gets home time after time. And I think Ole Miss will be really good once again. It's not necessarily the highest ceilinged roster that they've had in Oxford recently, but I would be very surprised if Ole Miss didn't win 8 or 9 games next year.
Would you take Jackson Dart over Shedeur Sanders? Because that's kind of the narrative going on right now with the NFL draft coming up.
Yeah, I might think about it. I think I probably would. I worry about Shadeur's top-end athleticism in the NFL, to be honest. I also think there would be a lot that comes with Shedeur Sanders off the field that you don't get with Jackson Dart. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing for everyone. If I was the New York Giants and like I don't have any juice, like I'd love Shedeur Sanders to step in right away and be my guy. Like, but I think Jackson Dart's a better athlete than Shedeur Sanders. I think Jackson Dart is as good a passer as Shedeur Sanders in terms of his ability to layer balls and attack a defense. He probably doesn't process quite as well, which is obviously an important trait, but like I would bet on Jackson Dart long term. I still think both are probably going to end up being like backups in their career. You don't have the kind of high level ceiling, but I think Jackson Dart has a higher ceiling than Shedeur Sanders does. But I've been wrong about Shedeur Sanders his entire career, so I'll probably end up being wrong here. I thought he would just be a very okay quarterback at Jackson State, and he developed into one of the best quarterbacks in the country. But I don't know. There's some stuff with Shedeur that's always kind of worried me.
Interesting.
Also, we talked about it last year with Caleb Williams and just holding on to the ball too long. Shedeur Sanders does the exact same thing. And he's even less athletic than Caleb Williams. Like there's less margin for error for Shedeur in the NFL. And maybe that's where his traits will shine because he clearly gets through progressions and he clearly gets through reads quickly. But that affinity for holding on to the ball and wanting to make the big play, I think could really hurt him in the league. But it could also go the other way. Like he had no run game in college, and maybe by getting in a better context offensively, he'll end up being really good. I don't have a crystal ball, but like I just feel like the way he played in college won't translate to the NFL in the way a lot of people are thinking it will.
Interesting. Okay.
Hummer, one of Ole Miss's 22 transfers in the 2025 recruiting cycle is Prince Will Human-Malin, the younger brother of Princely Human-Malin.
Yeah, Manor, stand up.
And there's another brother named Princeton Human-Malin.
Is he a Tiger?
We got Princely, Prince Will, and Princeton Human-Malin. The three brothers who are all 6'5" and change. I guess we need to dig into the Human-Malin family and what's going on with all these princes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, they're getting paid like princes, I'll tell you that. So they'll be fine.
Boom.
Ole Miss definitely did not leave any bags leaving for Prince Well this offseason. But yeah, I mean, honestly, frankly, two big misses for Texas because both brothers who are currently in college football are leaving it were very good players who Texas probably could have had, but not like Texas is hurting off the edge right now. But yeah. Manor, Texas, stand up. Remember Eric Fowler back in the day too. They've had some edge rushers.
Yeah. But Taj Brooks coming out of Manor too. A couple of guys. Yeah.
There you go.
Hey, Hummer, I saw that you wrote an article on Texas Trey Johnson. Just talk about that a little bit. Y'all go check that out at cbssports.com. But talk about Trey Johnson and what you've learned with him over the season. Longhorns tournament hopes are as slim as you could possibly be, but they're still there, I guess.
Yeah, sat down with Trey Johnson. I don't know if it was good timing or bad, but sat down with Trey Johnson for like 30 minutes last Friday ahead of their game against Oklahoma. I assume I cursed him or something, because that was one of the worst performances I've ever seen him have. He went 0 for 14, but we talked about his season, kind of the expectations. Trey Johnson looks like he's going to be the 9th one-and-done player from Texas not to make the Sweet 16. Texas has never had a one-and-done player make the Sweet 16, so it's the continuation of a trend. But in that article, Trey talks about his season. He talks about Rodney Terry's future, what he thinks about that. He talks about kind of what's gone wrong for Texas this year, and also what's gone right for Texas and his hopes the rest of the year. So if you're still interested in Texas basketball ahead of the SEC play, go check it out on CBS.
Now, who was that who just walked by?
That was my cat Marlon, a really big Trey Johnson fan. Wanted to shout him. Hopes Trey Johnson goes to the Mavericks because we could use the spacing. So,
Hummer, you're the best. We look forward to it every Tuesday. You and Marlon, we appreciate it. Let's do it again next week.
Absolutely, I'll talk to y'all then.
Appreciate you,
All right.
Hummer.
Later.
Hummer, guys everywhere. He's doing it all. He's in the portal. He's college football and basketball, writing about Trey Johnson. That's good stuff. Okay.
Definitely going to read that article later. That's
right. Speaking of Trey Johnson, this is the moment you've all been waiting for. We told you get the Coda text line. You have to we're playing this on the Coda text line. This is a $50 gift card to Cabo Bops. And we're going to ask you a question. The answer has to come in on the Coda text line at 512-222-9328. The first person to correctly text in Trey Johnson's current scoring average will win that gift card. So, y'all get after it.
Yeah.
Send in on the Coda text line, 512-222-9328. Trey Johnson's current scoring average. And we will give you a $50 gift card to Cabo Bob's. What you chuckling about?
Somebody just said 35. All right, we got a winner. Y'all can leave us alone now.
Wow.
That was quick. Yeah, we got a winner.
Who is it? Who knows?
Let me
send us your name. Yeah, give us your name on the Coda text line. That would help.
Yeah.
All right. We have a winner. We will get you their name and just
whoever said 35 is crazy.
I think they thought it was Kevin Durant's number or something.
Yeah, that's not it. I wish Texas would be a lot better than what they are now. That's for sure. But
that is so we have a correct answer. Trey Johnson's scoring average, by the way, is 20.2, which is the highest scoring average by a Texas freshman since Kevin Durant.
Man.
How about that?
Numbers, man.
You know who's the highest scoring average in Texas basketball history? This could have really that would
have been tough because I don't know that.
Really tough. The highest points per game scoring average in Texas basketball history. It ain't Kevin Durant. Should we check and see if BK has another gift? No, okay. But
who is it? You gotta let us know.
Okay, it's Raymond Downs. 26.4 points per game in the 1955-56 season. Durant is second at 25.8 points per game in 07. Travis Mays is third at 24.1.
Bucket getter.
BJ Tyler, fourth, 22.8. Reggie Freeman, fifth, 22.4. So there you have it.
Oh, man, it's hard to score in college. Like, people think that since the game isn't as competitive as the NBA, it'd be easier. Like, no, that's not the case. Way less space. Coaches love running their sets and stuff. Like, to average 20 like Trey Johnson's doing is really impressive. That's why it's so devastating to see that 20 go to waste in a way. Texas doesn't make the NCAA tournament. Like,
no!
Where everyone else at when Trey's averaging this 20? Where's everyone else? Like,
well, and the crazy thing is that Saturday everyone else showed up. Like, it was crazy. Tremont Mark, Jordan Pope. It seemed like everyone was on except for Trey Johnson. I know. 1956.
Yeah, what? There was nobody that he was going against looking like me out there. That's for sure. Come on. But buckets are buckets. No 3-point line. You got to give it to him. But you're right, Chip. Like, everyone else stepped up this past weekend.
That's what's so messed up. Like, this season has just been a comedy of errors and riddles. I mean, I don't know. How would you compare the coaching job this year to last year?
I mean, clearly worse, but last year, Dylan DeSue and Max Asmus did a ton for you. The problem was it was up and down with guys like Tyrese Hunter. He should have been a lot better last year. He's been good for Penny Hardaway. I don't know what Penny Hardaway's found in Tyrese Hunter to make him play this way, or what TJ Otzelberger found in Tyrese Hunter that freshman year when he was at Iowa State. We didn't see that during his Texas tenure. Like, that was the issue. Kendall Weaver was solid, but Kendall Weaver, he has his limitations. But yeah, like Dylan DeSue and Max Asmus, they were really good. And even at times, they'd have their flaws. But you were able to win a game in the tournament. You were a couple of plays away from beating Rick Barnes and Dalton connecting them. Dylan DeSue didn't play well that game. So you're on to the Sweet 16, and who knows what could happen there if you beat Rick Barnes in Tennessee last year. But this team, I still think they should have been better. I still think that some of the lineups have been very questionable. Jordan Pope was good on Saturday, but Jordan Pope should have been a lot better this season. Arthur Kaluma with his injuries and stuff. I think Roddy Terry did him a disservice by not playing him at the small forward spot more. Like, he's 6'7". Him playing power forward 95% of the time. Come on, RT. Like, some of these matchups that you could have had, he didn't try it out enough. He's just been too set on, I have to have either Pope or Larry in the game at all times. One of them has to be in the game. No, one of them doesn't have to be in the game. You can sit both of their asses down. That is fine. You could have put Trey Johnson at point at times. That wouldn't take away his scoring ability. Trey Johnson has shown that he is a willing passer and has made some really good passes this season. I was watching the Vanderbilt game. He had 3 assists in a row that were huge in the second half before Vanderbilt went on the run to win it. Like Trey Johnson is a very good passer, especially for his age and his scoring ability. You could have tried that out. We've been talking about Trayvon Mark being at the point guard position. I didn't see much of Zarek Oyema and Caden Shedrick on the floor together. We've barely seen Nick Cody. We haven't seen Jamie Vinson. So why? Like, why weren't those guys being developed in practice to where you could give them a couple of minutes here and there instead of playing so much small ball in a conference that has so much mass and so many big guys that are physical? The Horns, they've been losing on the boards all year long. They're -3 when it comes to rebounding in the SEC. That means they lose the rebounding battle basically every game, every night. So if I see that and I'm RT, I'm like, maybe we should put some guys in there that could rebound a little more. You played Devon Pryor way too late. You should have been working him in as a 2, as a shooting guard. And at times, you could sit Trey Johnson. Maybe you could sit Trayvon Mark a little bit. Get Devon Pryor in there because he gives you more athleticism. Like, not having Kendall Weaver, that shouldn't mean you're out of whack this much. You know, so I just, RT, I think, is really going to regret not playing some of the lineups because you just never know. You never know which lineups are going to work unless if you try it. So what Naaman's saying, like, they didn't have any identity this year. But when you don't have any identity, you should be trying different things to see where the identity is. If you can find the identity, you're not going to have the same no identity squad go out there over and over and over again. We saw too much of that. And that might be the end of Rodney Terry because of it.
Dylan Mitchell played at Texas last year and averaged 9.6 points and 7.5 rebounds for the Horns. Is averaging 9.5 points and 6.5 rebounds for Cincinnati. I mean,
it don't matter where he goes. He's just not getting any better. Talk about a bust. I hate to see that for him. That dude, he was a top 5 player coming into Texas.
Yeah, because he's so bouncy and long, but the IQ is not there.
IQ is horrible. He had one of the worst defensive IQs I've ever seen. Like, you could tell back in his high school days, all his IQ came from athleticism and just being faster and stronger than everybody he was playing against, which is weird because he went to Mount Verde. Like, that's where Cooper Flagg came from. And like, that's like the new Oak Hill Academy, one of those prep schools that's in the
middle. He must have been like
nowhere.
the 4th or 5th best player on that team when he was there.
But but like, still.
Because he hasn't developed at all.
Yeah.
He has no outside shooting game. Everything is around the rim, which is fine. Be the best rebounder. Be a over-the-top rebounder. Be a garbage man. Be a putback guy.
Yeah.
He doesn't have that.
Yeah. Like, him and Greg Brown, very disappointing. Like, Greg Brown should have been the man here. Just all the athleticism in the world. And he had more of a bag than Dylan Mitchell. It's just Shaka couldn't get to him. You remember when he had that episode where he ran out the gym ran towards the locker room. I forget which game it was, but it was towards the end of the season. Like the time where everybody should be on the same page and locked in for the ultimate goal. Greg Brown was, I don't know if he was cussing out Shaka, but they were getting into it, and he would leave and he would be crying and stuff. And it's just like, oh, damn, here we go. And then Abilene Christian happened. Yeah. That's what I'm saying, man. Like, they don't make guys like Sir Jabari Rice very often.
Oh, my God. He's my favorite player.
Easy.
Love me some Sir Jabari. Is he still with the Spurs organization?
Nah, he's Lakers. I saw him playing with Bronny James. Yeah.
Oh, in the G League.
In the G League. Him and Bronny James doing their thing. Yeah. But,
oh, man, was he fun to watch.
Yeah.
Great pace to his game. That
pump fake. Greatest pump fake I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, my heavens.
No matter what level, greatest pump fake I've ever seen. Easy. Like, not even close. I don't even know who would come in second. And I'm talking about Hall of Famers that are in Springfield right now that have a pump fake like Sir Jabari Rice. I don't know how he did it. Like, he'd be on his tippy toes. It would look like he was shooting it to the tee every time. And then after the 8th game or so, it's going to be on scouting reports now. The opposing coaches on the other side are going to be telling their players, watch for the pump fake. Didn't matter. Didn't matter. He's going to get you. Like, all right, I'm going to watch for the pump fake, coach. You go out there. He catches it on the 3-point line. Gets you. You flying in the stands. Parachuting in the stands. That athleticism isn't there for the NBA. They want you to be crazy athletic and dunk on people, and that's what he's missing. That's why it's been hard for him to crack a NBA roster, and he's been around the G League, but his IQ's there. Like, I know they,
and you know what?
They're trying.
Down the stretch of that Miami game, because Jabari Rice was hot. He had 15 in that game. And Timmy Allen was taking shots, and Brock Cunningham was taking shots. And you're like, get it to Jabari Rice.
Yeah. But that's the thing. The identity on that team became Dylan DeSue. So when he went out, guys tried to step up. And it wasn't – I get them for trying, but it should have been Marcus Carr, Sir Jabari Rice taking majority of the shots.
And
not
Marcus Carr rolled his ankle.
Yep.
With about 10 minutes left in the game, and he wasn't the same. I don't think he hit a shot. Oh, man. Can you imagine if Texas would have closed that out?
Oh, we wouldn't be talking about RT like this.
Rodney Terry, second coach in Texas basketball history to take a team to the Final Four. Anyway, all right, let's get to the mentions because we got to get to the commentary. We got to get to the chip shot and to the right call. You know what I'm saying? You feeling me? That's what I thought. You know what I'm saying? So let's do it.
Hi, this is Tom McKay, owner of Audiovisual Consultations. We've been providing custom electronic systems for Central Texas for more than 36 years. And
Old man, I think they all know who you are and what your company does. This is Camilla McKay. The old man believes in big fun and big ideas. He can make dreams come true, so why not dream big? I've been up in Boston, but I know the old man and all his friends and fellow radio heads have been spreading the holiday spirit here in Texas. Why should we stop there? Keep spreading the good feelings all over. Audiovisual Consultations carries all major brands of television televisions, and stereo equipment at prices you can't find in stores. And you don't have to leave your house. Just like Santa, they deliver the gifts to you.
Yeah, I like that, kid. Throw a party, hang out with your friends, catch a concert.
That's all fun and good, but can we get back to the business? You can give us a call at 512-255-8678 or visit our website at avconsultations.com for some cool electronics.
Oh, now you're forgetting something.
And as always, hug your kids. We only pretend to be annoyed. Watch some games with your friends and make love to whoever the hell you want.
That's right. Hey, to my snorers out there, get into the Sleep Cycle Center. I'm worried about you. I went in for a sleep study, changed everything. You gotta know what your treatment options are. If you're snoring, it's not just annoying to the person next to you. It could be impacting your ability to get oxygen when you're sleeping, which puts your life at risk. Reggie White, the Pro Bowl defensive end, died of sleep apnea. You need to get into the Sleep Cycle Center. 2 locations right there, Arboretum, out in Lakeway. And you tell them that Texas Sports Unfiltered sent you. They're going to give you $100 off your sleep study or a weight loss program. So, guys, take care of yourself. Go to sleepcyclecenter.com to set up an appointment. And don't forget to tell them Texas Sports Unfiltered sent you. And look, you got Cover 3. You got ball games to watch this week. SEC tournament, you just set up all day at Cover 3 and take it all in. Great food. Oh, that's the main thing. Great food. The food's going to bring you back every time. The brick chicken and mac and cheese, the Chop House burger, Texas Monthly calls one of the best burgers in the state of Texas. It's all right there. Anderson Lane, up in Round Rock, off Old Settlers, and Cover 2 at 183 in Lake Creek. If you haven't gotten the Sean Adams prime rib sandwich, go get it. Tell me what you think. If I'm lying, I'm dying. Get you some. And Salt Traders Coastal Cooking for seafood. Best seafood in Austin. Oh my gosh. The seafood restaurant of Jack Gilmore, who gives you Jack Allen's Kitchen. Best selection of raw oysters in Austin, Texas. Going for happy hour, 3:30 to 6:30, 3:30 to close on Mondays. And get the, you're getting $5 off the Shareables menu, which it has the mussels, the crab cake, the grilled oysters, the New Orleans barbecue shrimp. Starving. Salt Traders Coastal Cooking. Right there at Zilker. Mopac and Rollingwood, and up north in Round Rock off Old Settlers. Okay, Zay. For the chip shot today, I can empathize with Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods, this getting old is not for sissies, people. Tiger Woods is had surgery to repair a ruptured Achilles. He's been doing this indoor golf league that you can catch on ESPN. I'm not sure how I feel about this indoor golf league because you're hitting drives into a screen. And then they go to a green with some fakey sand traps around it. It's all indoors. And
sounds bootleg.
Yeah. But you got the best golfers, and this is part of what the PGA Tour is doing to make the golfers happy because of, the other guys going to live. And so the PGA Tour is trying to, create some fun things for these guys to do in the off season. But anyway, Tiger Woods, ruptured Achilles tendon. I try to do my stretches, trying to stay on top of it because I'm still trying to play tennis. Got tournaments coming up. But yeah, man, Tiger Woods put out on Twitter today that he has undergone surgery to repair a ruptured Achilles tendon. Of course, he's expecting to make a full recovery. But this happens 1 month before the Masters, where, of course, Tiger Woods has 5 green jackets. I always like watching Tiger Woods at the Masters because that's the only major they play on the same course every year, and no one has dominated that course like Tiger Woods. I mean, I just I don't know.
Is Tiger still a sex addict?
I count on you to tell me that.
Oh, I don't know. You golf guy.
Well, you're the sex guy.
I'm not the sex guy. I'm just saying. That's once upon a time it was rumored that Tiger,
Oh, it wasn't rumored.
Allegedly. Come on.
No.
He's just a man.
He was getting it from everywhere.
Don't mean it.
That wasn't allegedly. That was real.
Just because you're getting it from everywhere don't mean you an addict. You know what I'm saying?
I love how you go to Mississippi for sex addiction. That's where Tiger went. He went to some rehab in Mississippi for sex addiction.
Yeah, because them women so homely, it makes you not want to do it probably. Makes you.
Yeah. I wonder what those nurse assistants look like there in that Mississippi sex facility.
Yeah. You
Probably
can't be a sex addict here in the ATX. Like that's too much temptation. So you got to go somewhere like Mississippi where, girls a little rougher, a little tougher, maybe not as tight.
A little rougher, a little tougher.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. All these bad things happened when Tiger went to rehab. Let him do his thing.
No, all the bad things happened when he was texting on going around a curve in California and rolled his vehicle and shattered his leg. I think it's amazing that he's still walking. Yeah, Tiger's man, he's lived 5 lives.
Yeah, he's fortunate.
Yeah. I'm gonna miss him at the Masters.
Yeah, me too, man. He is the Masters.
Yeah. Man, when he won in 2019, when no one saw it coming, that was so cool. Meanwhile, Rory McIlroy can't win that tournament to save his life. Tiger's out there. Oh, look, I won another one. Man.
Yo, his son should be turning pro any day now, right? His son's next up.
Sam?
Yeah, that dude, he a grown-ass man now. I saw him recently. He ain't that same little pipsqueak that we saw hugging Tiger at the Masters 2019. Like, that's a grown-ass man. He got hair on them cojones now. Like, is he ready to go?
Charlie. Sam is his daughter. Charlie is his son. Sam is his daughter. Let's see. He was born in 2009, Zay.
Oh, wow.
So he's 16. He's been competing on the junior golf circuit. Watch out.
Watch out. A couple of years. Turn that big 1-8. It's a wrap. Got to follow in Pop's footsteps. That's a lot of pressure, man. Like, you see Michael Jordan's kids. His kids be doing cocaine, and ketamine, and stuff. Like,
dang.
I'm just
allegedly.
saying. No, allegedly. It wasn't cocaine. I think it was ketamine. He was sniffing that. That's what they caught him up with, which I'm going to say allegedly to that because you're Michael Jordan's son, so we don't want to embarrass you too much. But those photos of him sniffing that powder, those are real. That's not AI generated. Those are real.
Oh,
So,
you done a CSI investigation into the
some
photo realness of those photos?
Some. But all in all, that's the pressure, though. I can't blame Marcus too much. That's the pressure.
Yeah,
He was
but
supposed to be that
Charlie Woods, you see the way he twirls that club? I mean, he might be just as cocky as Pops.
That's what I'm saying. But he hasn't faced that pressure yet. He's still a kid. He don't know nothing about it. Like Bronny James, horrible. Got LeBron going off on Stephen A. That's how bad Bronny James is. Like, that's a lot. Embarrassing. That's embarrassing, Bron. Like, leave Stephen A alone. He ain't do nothing. Yeah. It ain't his fault your son's struggling. Tell Bron to go work on this game some more.
LeBron rarely makes a PR mistake, in my opinion. Yeah. That guy is phenomenal. Grew up with single mother who was boinking his
Steve.
fellow
you can't
players
say
in
I'm
the
petty
NBA.
and bring that up.
And he never, despite all of it, the guy was always doing right by his team, his teammates.
That's right.
He's going off to meet with Warren Buffett to learn how to invest his money, starting production companies with his boys, Maverick. LeBron is one of the greatest success stories of all time.
Rich Paul is about to marry Adele.
The singer?
Adele, yes. Rich Paul, his best friend from the streets of Akron. He blew that dude up so much. He about to marry Adele.
Look how LeBron's making everybody's life better. He made Tristan Thompson a 94 millionaire. 94 million.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, you telling me if Tristan wasn't on TV all the time because of Bron, he wouldn't have ended up with Chloe? That's how she saw him.
Now he's going to get a piece of that empire?
Oh, yeah.
Tristan Thompson could be the smartest dumb person I've ever met.
And then there's the negative, as you just mentioned, the whole Delonte West thing. Delonte West, homeless, crack addict, all because he might have scorned Bron. Bron never talks about Delonte. Bron should be trying to get Delonte back on his feet. If anyone could do it, not even Mark Cuban, but if anyone could get Delonte West back on his feet, it's LeBron James. And LeBron ain't even trying to do that. Because those things that you just said, probably true. True.
He's got to be Jesus. He's got to be forgiving of this dude getting after his mom.
I mean, his mom's a grown woman. She has a say too. Like she didn't have to say yes.
LeBron don't want that headline. He don't ever want Delonte West's name coming up. He can't go help him. Someone else got to help him. All right, let's get to the right call.
Let's get to it, man. Before that, though, shout out to our terrific sponsors like McCall Custom Homes. Y'all trust the experts. Don't trust the guys that got to go to YouTube to try to fix something or try to charge you an arm and a leg and your house looks worse than it did before they started working on it. McCall Custom Homes, they aren't those guys. They are the experts that have been doing it for over 40 years in the business. It's all about quality. It's all about craftsmanship. The father and son team combination of experience of over 50 years, and they will take your home and make it something truly special. Dining room, living room, kitchen, bathroom, it doesn't matter. They will hook you up because Mike and the boys, that's what they do. So if you want to see their terrific work, go on Facebook, Instagram, and search for at McCall Custom Homes and give our boy Mike a call at 512-633-9580. That's 512-633-9580, or shoot him an email at mike@mccallcustomhomes.com. It's McCall Custom Homes. We build value into your home. And remember, check out their new website at mccallcustomhomesatx.com. McCall Custom Homes, we build value into your home. home. And Covert Bee Cave, Covert Automotive Dealership, that have been doing it in the greater Austin area for over 100 years and been doing it very well. If you don't want to take my word for it, then listen to the great folks on this terrific commercial.
It's really a family experience. I walked in the showroom today and everybody greeted me by name. How you doing? What's going on? How's everything going?
From a price standpoint, from a customer service perspective, just conversation when you come in, it feels no pressure. I want to buy cars here.
The family buying car experience, one of the best that you will ever have.
Come and experience it for yourself.
Covert, born and raised in Austin.
That's right. They greeting folks by name. It's like Cheers up in there. It's just absolutely amazing. The customer service, satisfaction, all of the above. My man Daniel, Marcus, Jerome, and the rest of the crew, they hooked my wife and I up with our Buick Encore GT, and they can hook you up too. Nobody beats a Covert deal. Not now, not ever. And if you're looking for a full service wholesale and retail plant, nursery, and landscape supplier here in the ATX, trust the guys at Leaf Landscape Supply, your one-stop shop for everything you need. Large quantities of supplies to fulfill any landscaping job, trendy house plants, a collection of specialty plants, and rare plants. Again, they're your one-stop shop for everything you need. So go visit both of their locations, one off of Pond Springs Road up north, and then one down south off of Monterey Oaks and 290. Hit up their website at leaflandscapesupply.com to see everything they have to offer, and go visit either one of their locations. And remember, when you go in, you make a purchase, let them know the folks at Texas Sports Unfiltered put you on. Your boy Zay Collier told you about it, and you get 10% off. Can't beat that. 10% off at Leaf Landscape Supply. All right, Chip, right call today. This is a very messy, interesting story. And shout out to Joe K. Joe K, St. Mary's playing tonight. St. Mary's, one of my sleeper teams, man. One of my sleeper teams. Do not sleep on St. Mary's at all. Gonzaga, Mark Few and them, they aren't the best this season like they've been in previous seasons. But, yeah, that's one of the dark horse coaches that I got for maybe the Texas job. My man, God, what's his name? Can't think of his name right now. Randy Bennett, old as hell, so probably won't get it. But if you get down to slim pickings, I'd give Randy Bennett a call. I'm just saying, that dude, he could coach his ass off. Them white boys be playing at St. Mary's WCC championship. Check that out tonight. But anyways, this story that I'm bringing up to you, Chip, very messy, very messy. So in the Virginia Class 3 State A Indoor Track Championship, this one girl is being accused. Her name is Aliyah Everett. She's being accused of hitting or attacking the runner that was gaining a lead in front of her with the baton. And now she's saying it's a miscommunication. I'm going to show you the video because one side you're going to see her in action where she hit homegirl on accident. And then on the other side, you're going to see her pleading her case on why it was an accident. And after you watch it, after you hear her, I want to hear your take on what you think of it. And everybody else that's watching the video with us here on Chip and Zay, here on Texas Sports Unfiltered. If you're listening on the app, go check this video out when you can. But this is the Virginia Indoor 3A Class 3A State Championship. Check it out.
Everybody has feelings. So you're physically hurt, but you're not thinking of my mental, right? They're going off of one angle. A couple times hitting her, my baton got stuck behind her back like this, and it rolled up her back. I lost my balance, and when I pumped my arms again, she got hit. I know my intentions, and I would never hit somebody on purpose. They're assuming my character, calling me ghetto, racist slurs, death threats, all of this just because of a 9-second video.
Oh, Lord. That girl needs to be arrested, and we filing assault charges. She took that baton and beat that girl over the back of the head. All that other stuff is nonsense. That girl.
Come on. You see her crying?
She clubbed her in the back of the head like a baby seal.
You saw her crying. You saw you saw the pain in her voice. Like, come on, man.
You'd cry too if you watched your life go up in flames because you're an idiot.
Idiot? Come on. Come on.
She beat her in the head.
This is a high school girl. Accident. She said it was an accident. Let's listen to it again. Let's listen to it and watch it again. Listen to what she said.
No accident. That was
the video. You were watching the video. You weren't listening to her with the video.
Oh, I was listening.
Let's check it out again. One more time for everybody.
Everybody has feelings. So you're physically hurt, but you're not thinking of my mental, right? They're going off of one angle. A couple times hitting her, my baton got stuck behind her back like this, and it rolled up her back. I lost my balance, and when I pumped my arms again, she got hit. I know my intentions, and I would never hit somebody on purpose. They're assuming my character, calling me ghetto, racist slurs, death threats, all of this just because of a 9-second video.
She beat that girl in the back of the head. That was assault.
Okay.
I love the quote where she says it got stuck on her back and it rolled up, and then when I was pumping my arms, I hit her in the head. That other girl, her baton came flying out of her hand. She's over running off the track trying to get medical attention because she just got clubbed in the head with a club.
Okay. I'm not going to call her ghetto for the action, but I'm calling her ghetto because you hear the fire alarm in the back. You know, when your alarm loses the battery, the beep, the random beep, that's one of the blackest things in the world. Get that fixed. You can't be on TV and be doing media with that beeping in the background. That was ghetto. So I don't want to call her ghetto for her striking homegirl on the assault, but that was mad ghetto.
Wow.
The smoke alarm's crazy. Smoke alarm, you got to do something about that. That's wild. But
that's all you got is the smoke alarm?
No, I'm just saying it's ironic that
she's beating the crap out of that girl just because she's faster than her.
It's just ironic that she's being called ghetto and then the smoke alarm comes on. That's all I'm saying. But she wrong. She in the wrong. I feel bad for her because she's young, but she did strike homegirl. Apparently, they were elbowing and bumping each other throughout the whole race. And then that's what we saw. That's what's gone viral, because this has gone viral. Like, crazy views, crazy clicks.
No doubt.
They're dragging.
When was the last time you saw a 400 relay or whatever that was, where a girl's passing another girl and the girl getting passed is like, oh no. What? I mean, that's like, I can't even begin to believe that that's real, but it's real.
So what's the consequences?
Oh,
how do we handle this at this point?
She's kicked off the team.
All right. But
I don't know, community service.
Yeah.
Something. We got to have a lesson learned here.
She's trying to knock her weave off. Yo, what's the matter with y'all? Oh, man.
Have we heard from the girl who got clubbed? I don't need to hear from the girl who did the clubbing. I need to hear from the girl who got whacked.
I could bring that up tomorrow. I think she has a statement. I think they talked to her too. For sure. Yeah, that's a bad move. It's sad. I hate to see it, but hey, man.
She lost her mind.
Don't get in front of me then. She think twice next time.
Was that track meet in Bad News, Virginia?
I don't know. It's in Virginia, but
that's tough. That's a rough and tumble area, man. Don't Don't be getting in no relays. You got to wear a helmet in the 4x4 in that track meet. Life's tough. Wear a helmet.
Let's bring in the open gym guys, Patrick and Matt, man. Fellas, what's up?
Y'all didn't think you needed to wear a helmet running track, did you?
Hey, you didn't really think about her mental pain. She breaks a girl's skull open and goes, but my mental pain. You're like, I can't believe I shot 3 people dead, but my mental pain about it is what's wrong. Y'all got to make me. I'm a victim.
Oh my God.
I get it sucks. It probably was a spur of the moment thing. You wish you hadn't done it, but don't come out afterwards and be like, but my mental pain, like her skull got cracked. That's a big deal. It's not a little deal. That's not something that just wears off. You're like, oh, she got a lump on her head. Because I'd still love tapped her. Like, you hit her hard.
That was a full strike.
Yeah.
She was chopping wood with that girl's head.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about. I gotta check this out. This sounds very entertaining.
I watch pro wrestling. They hit guys full force with steel chairs. Nothing. No scars, no cracked skulls. That's what we're talking about.
I gotta show Matt the video before we go so he knows what we're talking about.
I can't believe this.
This was a track meet, Matt, in Virginia.
High school track meet.
Check it out.
Everybody has feelings. So you're physically hurt, but you're not thinking of my mental, right? They're going off of one angle. A couple times hitting her, my baton got stuck behind her back like this, and it rolled up her back. I lost my balance, and when I pumped my arms again, she got hit. I know my intentions, and I would never hit somebody on purpose. They're assuming my character, calling me ghetto, racist slurs, death threats, all of this just because of a 9-second video.
So again, she got knocked off balance. So when she's in stride, she just happens to hit homegirl with the baton in stride. It happens.
She wound up like a baseball batter. There was no my baton got caught in her weave.
Hey, there's 2 different fire alarms. There's 2 beeps in it. There's 2 fire alarms that need batteries in the house.
I mean, okay.
My get in here.
You only saw one angle.
See?
You only saw one angle. The only angle I saw was her winding up and
yeah,
exactly.
I'm gonna find that other angle. I appreciate
we'll be back tomorrow.
See you guys. Chip and Zay always having a good time here on Texas Sports Unfiltered. And welcome in to Open Gym. We appreciate everybody joining us today. We'll get into a lot of great topics, but welcoming back myself, Patrick Davis, but coming back, been off for a few days here, about a week now, because of taking care of some business in the tonsil area with the tonsil surgery. Glad to have you back. Appreciate you being back on the show, Matt.
Oh man, I've been aching to get back at this. It's been too long. I'm excited. I can finally talk without it hurting, so I feel pretty good about it.
There you go.
Yeah. This is gonna be fun.
Yeah, Matt Galatzan from Texas Longhorns on SI there. We'll get into a bunch of NFL talk. That's where we'll start off because it's just still going after a day. We'll keep going into that. We will talk a little bit about the Texas men's basketball team. I want to get Matt's opinion after everything that has happened. There has been ups and downs since he has been gone. We'll also talk a little bit about the quarterback carousel, where it leaves Quinn Ewers, where it leaves some other quarterbacks in this draft now that the carousel is starting to fulfill where it needs to go, at least in free agency. Maybe a little bit about spring football. It doesn't start again until next week, but Sark spoke to the media yesterday. Also, we'll try and get into a couple other stories that we've seen around the world. We'll get to all of that. And remember, you guys, whatever you guys want to talk about, join the conversation. Hop in the chat, hop in the text line 512-222-9328. And we'll keep going with whatever you guys want to talk about as well, because it is Open Gym. Let's start off, though. The Cowboys just made a signing right before we came on as well. So they have now picked up multiple players. Still no one is beating the Greg Hardy contract of no one's over $6 million a year. But we did see another player just get signed by the Cowboys right before we came on the air. Defensive tackle, you're replacing Chauncey Golston, who left, but you get former first-round pick Peyton Turner headed to the Cowboys as a defensive end. super excited now. This free agency off to a grand start for the Cowboys.
Honestly, this is kind of I think they've made some solid moves. I know nothing's like crazy and knocking people's socks off, and it's not Dre Greenlaw or any of these other big names that have gone, but they've signed some guys who can fill some positions that they needed to fill. This is kind of typical of them in free agency, where they don't spend a lot of money. They don't make a lot of shocking moves. They just fill holes that they think that they need filled. And, they don't really like to recycle players, I guess. Greg Hardy was the last player to exceed a $6 million deal, which was, I think, in 2015.
Yeah,
so anybody expecting them to go out and spend $100 million to bring somebody in is, they're probably getting ahead of themselves. But Peyton Turner, former first-round pick, good player. The running back they signed should get some run next year, and he should help. It probably means Rico Dowdle's gone. Offensive line help is always good. And then Solomon Thomas is a good defensive tackle. He's another former first-round pick. Was number 3 overall. So, he's going to come in and fill some depth issues that they have there. But, it's typical Cowboys, man. Just nothing crazy.
Nothing too crazy. Yeah, it is. It does feel like this is a little bit of Jerry Jones when he is spending going into Jerry the Redeemer, which Jerry really loves to give second chances and really loves a good story of a comeback. He's always loved that. He's always tried to give guys, especially if they have off the field issues or whatever else, but a couple of guys here who were, top picks and maybe never really achieve what they were supposed to. Maybe I can bring him in, and then we'll achieve the greatness here on the Cowboys. Luckily, he didn't overpay for any of those guys, so no big bad deals there. Yeah, so far they kept Osai Digizua. They brought in Javonte Williams as the running back. They brought in. It's a 1-year, $3 million deal. I don't mind that deal at all. He's 24 years old. He's a pretty good running back. Does a lot of things well. I mean, I think he's maybe a little bit better pass catcher than Rico Dowdle. Other than that, they're pretty comparable. So, if you feel Rico Dowdle didn't want to stay there for whatever reason, his agent was trying to, use leverage or whatever else to not give you a deal like that. He wanted more long-term, that he wanted 3 years or 4 years, and you didn't want to give him that kind of deal because you're hoping to draft somebody and that'll be your future running back, even though you always need 2 running backs. I don't know why the Cowboys don't think they do. I think they still just talk to Emmitt Smith, and Emmitt's like, well, I did it all. So we don't need to bring anybody else in. We just need one guy. You need 2 running backs at least. Probably need 3 in today's world. But I like the Javonte Williams signing. That was right after we went off the air yesterday. With a Man Fanatic perspective, Steven saying, there will not be any signing by the Cowboys before you're back on the air tomorrow. 15 minutes later, already wrong. Always that open gym promise. We just jinx it immediately. You're on open gym.
It happened with Dwayne Aquino. Yep. It's happening with the Cowboys. It's just all over the place.
The open gym promise, the open gym jinx promise that we have here. But then the big one really was that they re-signed Kevontae Turpin. That apparently they were going to put a tender on him for like $5.4 million. They ended up going with $6 million a year for Kevontae Turpin, giving him 3 more years. He's been good. He's one of the better special teams players in the NFL. And, he's never really been worked into the offense. They keep trying to put him into it. I always thought that they should have the small package with him and Deuce Vaughn in and just have 2 really small guys and just try and figure out ways to make that work. I always thought that'd be fun. I don't think they ever really got there. I don't think they like having 2 really small guys in a lineup in the NFL.
The Rugrat package.
Exactly. And that's so they just never they've used him a little bit. It'll be interesting to see if they've signed him now, if they're going to try and implement him more, or if this is just let's pay a bunch for his special teams and try and have an advantage there. I mean, it's 3 more years. It feels like that can't just be for special teams. You have to try and get him somewhat in the offense, especially when you're lacking at wide receiver.
Yeah, I think they probably will. Brian Schottenheimer probably has a few ideas of how to get him worked in that maybe Mike McCarthy wasn't a fan of, or maybe McCarthy just for whatever reason didn't like using Turpin that often. I don't know, but when you're signing a guy to a 3-year deal for that, it's not a huge amount of money in the NFL, but it's $6 million a year. It's part of your salary cap. You're, committing 3 years to the guy. Hopefully you're going to get something out of him. He is extremely valuable on special teams. I would say he's right up there with the best kick returners and punt returners in the league. So, maybe they value that a whole lot, but it would certainly say to me that they're going to figure out a way to get him into the offense. Maybe some packages with Deuce Vaughn and the Rugrat. I like that.
Yeah, I keep wanting him to use it. It feels like you can have two guys that are really hard to guard in open space. And if you can find one of them in open space, you can create something. So if you put them both out on the field, it feel like it would make defenses have to figure something out, because you could slide one around and use the other one as a decoy. And meanwhile, CeeDee Lamb can just bolt down the field. And if he's open, you throw it to CeeDee Lamb. But I feel like you can make that work. They just never really wanted to go with that. You're going to have to figure some things out this season, because as of right now, they don't have the weapons. Now, there's still plenty of time. Lots of wide receivers still available. You're also getting into the world of the draft is still there. Trades are available. So they could still do something. They never really do anything in free agents anyway. So no big worries there. They also brought in Robert Jones as a guard. Need to bring somebody in to this guard position. That one is, you're able to pull that in because Zach Martin's gone. You had to just get something back in there. Not a bad hire there. What do you feel about the Jordan Lewis, though, letting him walk away? That it wasn't a crazy contract that he got. I think it was like 3 years, 30 million. So not crazy, but for him to walk away feels like the Cowboys just didn't feel that was a need for them in that sense, or that they couldn't afford 10, even though they opened up $54 million in cap space.
Maybe they're planning on bringing back Deron Bland now. I'm not sure. It kind of signals to me that maybe they're also looking at corner in the draft a little bit more than we thought they might be.
Yeah.
The focus has really been on wide receiver and running back for the most part. There's a little bit of corner stuff in there, but for the most part, it's been on offense. I think that maybe if you let Jordan Lewis walk, it could be a thing where they're like, okay, maybe we're going to invest in a younger corner in the draft. Maybe even if it's not in the first round, maybe in the second round. I'll tell you what, Jahdae Barron would fill that role real nicely. So, that maybe they like him. I don't know, but Jordan Lewis is a big loss to me unless they fill it the right way, because he was one of those guys that could do everything. He was great in run support. He was a tough guy. He was, he could cover outside corner, slot, do whatever. He could play a little safety if you need him to. So that's a tough loss, but I feel like Jacksonville is also throwing a lot of money at players right now, because what else are they going to do? They got to do something. Yeah. And he's going to be the best player in that secondary next year, probably. And they had the worst pass defense in the NFL last year. So, I mean, good for him. Maybe he wants a bigger role. Who knows? But,
No, yeah, and I feel like that there's two ways to look at it. That this could be the Cowboys saying we're going to keep Deron Bland. We're looking ahead, but it feels like a Cowboys move, which is, we're not thinking 2 years and down the road. We're thinking next season we have Deron Bland, Trayvon Diggs will come back, and that's our two big corners. That's who we're paying is Deron Bland and Trayvon Diggs. That's our two guys. You go, what happens in a year when Deron Bland's gone? Because you're not going to resign him. They go, oh, but that's a year. Who thinks that far ahead in football? Guys, it's all about next season. We're back all in on next season. It always feels like the Cowboys do that, and they let things get too far out of hand. Hence, the not signing contract extensions in time, not being on top of it when your guys become free agents and having things ready to go. It just feels like a very Cowboys thing to just let Jordan Lewis walk away, because you have two really good defensive backs that now both those guys have had trouble staying healthy. But I don't know, because I'm curious if this is still – they're going to go at 12 and take a DB there, and then wait till a little bit later, and then take a running back in the second round. And then you go your offensive lineman in the third, and then where are you pulling that wide receiver from? It just feels like there's too many needs to use a cornerback there when you had one that wasn't super expensive that you could have had and really shored up your secondary a lot more. Jordan Lewis felt good about where he could move around, and you felt good about using him in different places. He's been consistent for you all for the last few years. I think that was just a simple one that maybe Jordan Lewis just wanted to move on. Maybe he was done. Maybe he, after Dan Quinn left, Mike Zimmer maybe rubbed him the wrong way, and he didn't want to have his third new coach in 3 years. There's many other reasons why he could have wanted more from the Cowboys. If you're going to get your money and you want to get it done quick too, you don't want to wait until other guys sign. That's fine. I get it. But that felt like one for the Cowboys that is going to be difficult for them next year, because one of the problems they continually have is trying to fill all your needs in the draft and not being able to do it in the time frame that's there. Because again, you're talking about you need a new starter in the offensive line. You need a new starter at running back. You need a new starter at wide receiver. You need a new starter now at DB. Now, he doesn't have to be great for DB. Maybe you can get a DB in the second, third round and feel that will replace Jordan Lewis. You're not going to take one early because you are going to try and keep Jerron Bland now. But you have all those pieces. Now you feel better about defensive tackle at this point. I don't know if you're completely there yet, but I don't think you have to take one in the first round anymore. You probably could use one, but you don't have to anymore. So you've accomplished one of them. But for the most part, so many places are still open for this Cowboys team on day 1, day 2 of the draft, that there is more guys they need than draft picks they have. And you're going to have to figure out what to do with that.
Yeah. I mean, listen, if I'm the Cowboys, I probably have to look at the offense still, even with Jordan Lewis, going to Jacksonville, and even with these other needs that they have, just because without CeeDee Lamb, like take CeeDee Lamb out of the picture, there's nobody else on that offense that I'm comfortable with as an impact player who I can rely on week after week. Brandon Cooks was supposed to be that guy. That was a failed experiment. So I think you have to find both of those things in the first 2 rounds, and you have to find a way to protect Dak. So the more you think about it, the more it seems like it's either Lewis just wanted to walk, or Dallas is all in on those 2 corners next year, and then they're just going to figure out a way to sign Jerron Bland to one of those contracts where it takes up a lot of cap space this year, and then they rearrange it next year and it frees up more cap space like they do with, Dak and CD and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see. I still think that the most glaring needs are offense. So if you had to let something walk, Jordan Lewis was probably the one that maybe you could explain to your staff because you have those other 2 corners, but
yeah,
it's going to be a tough loss for them either way.
So looking over at wide receiver now, if you say you still need to get one in, and you may not have you may need another need at 12, or may need another need in the first round. Even if you trade back, you may not be able to take a wide receiver there. So maybe that's their whole plan is wide receivers cost way too much money. We don't want to sign one because they cost too much. But if you look at the free agent wide receivers that are still out there, there's still decent ones out there, considering it wasn't like it was a huge market anyway. Amari Cooper is still out there. Steph Diggs is still out there. Now, we don't know when he's going to be back. He suffered a major injury last year, so we don't know. D-Hop is still out there. Keenan Allen, Deontay Johnson couldn't stay on a roster last year. I don't know if he falls in that realm anymore. And then you kind of start to go down. Brandon Cooks is still out there as well. So, there still are some guys that you could go out there and try and bring in that are decent players. And there's still a lot of guys in that mid-range, too, that you could bring in and would be at least a solid number 2 for you. Like the Texans got Christian Kirk. I thought that was a great move for the Texans to bring in, which is a solid number 2. You don't worry about him. He doesn't have to be a number 1, but he's a solid number 2. I think there's guys like that you might be able to find out there as well. Which name to you stands out? Or in Cooper Kupp, we keep hearing that his name is rumored he's going to be released. What name to you is where you think you'd like to go the most?
Well, I mean, Amari Cooper obviously jumps out to me just because he has a pretty established connection with Dak Prescott. How much they are willing to pay him for a second go around is another question entirely. I don't know what his projected market value is. I haven't looked it up, but do they want to go out and spend that money? I'm not sure. Deontay Johnson is a really good player when he can stay on a roster and he can be consistent. That obviously was a big issue last year. Like most of these names are just older players who, had great careers and they're kind of winding down. And I'm not sure that they're going to, make a whole hell of a lot of difference next year in a brand new Cowboys offense. I mean, Keenan Allen catches everything. So maybe that's a guy that you bring in and, he's kind of your third receiver and he's your safety valve. And, he helps Dak in that way. I don't like the D-Hop idea. I think his time's come and gone. As much as I was a huge fan of his when he was with the Texans. I thought he was badass, but I think he's kind of over the hill. I don't know. There's not a lot out there that really jumps out to me where you're saying like, okay, this is somebody they absolutely have to go get. Amari Cooper makes the most sense just because of his chemistry with Dak already, but I don't really know if there's a guy that I would, break the bank for, so to say.
No, how would you feel about a Cooper Kupp if he became available and you're able to put a Cooper Kupp in there, kind of really change up what you're seeing, get a guy that's a little bit more that you can just hit instead of having the tight end that Dak Prescott really needs. You maybe use a Cooper Kupp, and that's that form of a guy that's just kind of there for him.
Yeah, I like the Cooper Kupp idea. Again, it would depend on how much you're paying him. He has a hard time staying on the field.
Yeah,
he has for the last couple of years. The 2021 season, he was the best receiver in the NFL. It just seems like every year after that, he's just kind of declined a little bit here and there. But he's a super smart player. I watched him break down plays with sideline reporters before, and I'm just like, wow, this is Spanish to me. I've never heard a player talk like this before. But he's if you're bringing him in at a relatively team friendly deal and he's willing to do it, then yeah, sure, why not take a flyer on him? Maybe he can be what you wanted Brandon Cooks to be last year. It just depends on him staying healthy, which with the Cowboys' track record of late, I'm not super confident of that either.
No, the one thing that everybody kept saying was the trainer's room was the problem. But yeah, the Cowboys haven't done a ton. Don't expect them to do a ton ever, a bunch early in free agency. But the Texans, on the other hand, have been very busy. The Texans have ended up trying to completely rebuild this offensive line where it didn't look, I mean, going into the offseason, you were looking at what the cap space was. You didn't really see a way, or I didn't see a way that they were going to be able to redo this line. I didn't think they were going to, start trading players off as well. But Nick Caserio did see the issue, and he said it is clearly a culture thing, and it is something that needs to be completely redone. They get rid of Shaq Mason. They release him. They then trade Laramie Tunsil, get back picks. I don't love that trade. Apparently, they were calling multiple teams about him too. The first report I had read said that they were the team that the Commanders called the Texans. Apparently, that's backwards. The Texans were calling and not shopping Laramie Tunsil, but letting people know that Laramie Tunsil, or maybe just at the combine, let people know that Laramie Tunsil was available. And basically, and no one's safe in our offensive line. So if you really want a left tackle and you want to pay him, that's fine, because we don't want to pay him anymore. And we know he's going to want a new contract within a year. So we know we're aware of what's happening. We're not going to buy back into the Laramie Tunsil business. So we want to go ahead and get rid of him. They get an okay pick, a haul pick for him. I mean, it depends on what he does with the Commanders. If he all of a sudden turns it around and is a great left tackle for the next 5 years, then that trade looks idiotic. If he turns around and he plays like he did last year for the Texans, great trade. Great trade. If he is the most penalized player on the Commanders and, he's not, I mean, he was getting abused in the playoffs last year. And so there's pieces of that where you can say, I understand why they thought this is not working and the whole thing's not working. But if we're paying him a ton of money, we got to get rid of some of these pieces. They also felt they had 2 other tackles. And the reports are now they may not even be drafting another tackle because they feel Titus Howard and Blake from Notre Dame Blake Fisher are the 2 guys they want to have at left tackle and right tackle. So they feel they're there. They then made a signing of they signed Laken Tomlinson, who comes from Seattle, but he had worked with D'Amico in San Francisco. They tied up and so they had up some pieces together. He's on the backside of his career, did not have a great year last year. Is not really somebody that you're excited about as a Texans fan coming in to play guard. But he could be a culture guy. He could be somebody to be a veteran on this offensive line and in the room. I'm not thrilled of him playing a lot of downs, but I could understand why he's in there. You still have Juice Scruggs. You still have Jared Patterson. You still have Kendrick Green. They trade Kenyon Green today and say he's out. We messed up on that pick. And they've gone with that, but they get CJ Gardner-Johnson, which that one you feel very happy about if you're a Texans fan, because safety was a need as Murray left. And so Eric Murray goes to the Jaguars because, again, the Jaguars are spending a bunch of money. So Eric Murray, they're trying to refill their secondary. They get Eric Murray over there. The Texans respond by getting a really good safety in CJ Gardner-Johnson. And now this offensive line for the Texans looks incomplete, but the secondary is starting to look really, really good. They add in the defensive line as well. this Texans defense is going to be really, really dangerous next year, but that offensive line, still scary. It's still pretty scary. If you're the Texans, you pretty much have to go offense now. That defense looks pretty good. So you look like you're this draft, at least the first 2 picks are probably offensive, I'm assuming. So you're trying to get a little bit more going there with a wide receiver, with an offensive lineman. What are you looking at with the Texans after this free agency first couple of days?
I don't care what anyone says. I have a really hard time believing that they're going to not spend their first round pick on an offensive lineman just based on what's happened. I do think that, the Shaq Mason and Kenyon Green exits are both addition by subtraction for them. So I think bringing in Laken Tomlinson, he's automatically an upgrade from at least Kenyon Green, who statistically was arguably the worst guard in the NFL last year. And in his rookie season, he was almost just as bad. So, it's certainly a transition position for them. They need to find some help. I wouldn't be surprised if they brought another player in if they could find one, whether it be through trade or through free agency. But you got to find something in the draft, man. If Kelvin Banks somehow slips that far, which I still don't think he will, because I thought he had an awesome combine. He measured 6'5". He's still, for my money, the best tackle in this draft. So I have a hard time seeing him drop that far. And I know it's your worst nightmare for them to pick an offensive lineman in the first round, but
it's not, because at this point you have to. Like, at this point, it feels like you have to kind of fulfill some of those pieces. Now, what's weird about it is you think, okay, Kelvin Banks makes the most sense after you get rid of Tunsil, but the reports come out of it today that they're fine at tackle. They think they're good at tackle, that they're fine with Blake Fisher and Titus Howard. And I mean, maybe that's not the case. And maybe, you move and you move Titus Howard or Blake Fisher inside, and, you don't think that Titus Howard is really natural himself at a left tackle. But I could see that that's what they're going with and saying he was a left tackle, he was playing out of position. He'll be better if we put him back at that left tackle. We don't have the money to go out and get somebody bigger. But I'm with you. At this point, it feels like you have to. And I think if Kelvin Banks falls like 15, you have to go get him. I think at that point you say, well, we got a guy there that we feel is a future left tackle. He's going to be on a rookie wage scale. Let's go get him trade up and go get him. We've seen that they're not afraid to make draft day trades at all. So I'm on board with that. I told my friends after the Tunsil trade, I was like, I'm officially in the I hope Kelvin Banks slides sweepstakes now. I want him to slide all day. Not as a Longhorn fan, but as a Texans fan, I need him to slide.
I was gonna say, like, even if it is your worst nightmare for them to pick an offensive lineman in the first round, if Kelvin Banks is that guy, you probably feel pretty good about it, all things considered. With the draft haul that they just got for Laramie Tunsil, maybe they use a little bit of that to move up to try to get Kelvin Banks or whoever it ends up being. But they got to do something, because CJ Stroud is going to be in for a rough season if they don't get that fixed.
No, and I mean, it's going to be an interesting piece, because you are trying to do addition by subtraction. You are trying to bring in some things to make it feel like this is going to be a different offensive line. It's going to look different no matter what now, but is it going to be better? It's really where you're worried. And I mean, this also now pushed into, all right, the wide receiver, you get Christian Kirk, you make the trade for him. You feel pretty good about that, but you probably still need another wide receiver. They've brought in they have 8 guys, I think, on the roster right now. Braxton Berrios, and they brought in, who's the other white guy they brought in? Justin Watson. They brought in 2 white receivers. Braxton Berrios is more of a special teams guy too, but they brought in a couple of guys you feel Nick Caley probably wanted to bring in as wide receivers, maybe replace some of the guys you figure Robert Woods and some of these other guys that are, have been with the team for a little bit, but never really broken through. Tank Dell, I mean, I'd be surprised if he plays it all next season, in all honesty, because I mean, they're still doing surgeries to get him right after that last season. So he may miss the entire year. And if you say that, you go, okay, that's 2 good ones with Christian Kirk and Nico Collins. But do you have a third guy, and are you okay if one of those guys goes out for 2 or 3 games, which is probably likely to happen in an NFL season? So I think they still need to draft a wide receiver as well. It's like Namar Roberts says, go get Cam Williams also. That may be the case. You may go get a guy, in the third. I think you're going to draft probably 2 to 3 linemen in this draft if you're the Texans. Like, so the question may be, you may not get one in the first round if you wait to 25 and you want to go guard first. You may not go with a guard in the first round. You may say, let's take a wide receiver. If Matthew Golden fell to you at 25, you feel pretty good about taking Matthew Golden. Or you feel good about taking McMillan or somebody like that at 25. If you don't get the offensive lineman, if those first 4 tackles are gone, you may move on. But I honestly can't tell you what they're going to do anymore, because I don't think anyone was expecting them to be down 3 offensive linemen in the first day and a half of free agency.
Yeah, at least they didn't go out and sign Dan Moore Jr. to $50 million guaranteed or whatever it was. That's a horrible deal for him. But it's a major issue in my mind. They got to do something. The idea of getting somebody in the second round if the top 4 tackles are gone makes sense. Cam Williams might be that guy on day 2. I don't know. They also need a guard, in my opinion. I feel bad for CJ Stroud right now. I'm worried for him. I'm certainly not going to pick him in fantasy football if I had to pick today. I'll say that.
No, I'm worried about it too, because teams were able to attack very easily last year. And again, it's a different offensive line. But is it better? I don't think you can say it's better at all right now. You also took your offensive line coach. He's gone, but you was promoted your assistant offensive line coach. So, pass blocking should be a little bit different, but you're still talking about a lot of similar things. The voices in the room changed, though. And now Tomlinson is going to be your veteran in the room. Pretty much your only veteran in the room right now. So you may want to bring in another veteran to help ease out. If you have another guy that Nick Caley feels good about on that offensive line, if you can find somebody else, there's still guys available out there. Interior offensive line, they're just going for so much money, but maybe you go like a Mekhi Becton. If you get him, he hasn't been great, but he's a veteran. He's played on winning teams. So maybe that guy like that you look at, but there's not a lot you can go out for as a free agent right now, because everybody's just making so much money at that offensive line. And the Texans, unfortunately, don't have a ton of money to play with right now because they're still kind of tied up. You open up some cap, getting rid of Tunsil. You open up some cap, getting rid of Shaq Mason, but you don't open up the whole thing because of the way contracts are written up. But yeah, like Will Fry signs a 5-year, $88 million deal. That's a guy you'd like to see come in. We saw, Ryan Kelly, 2 years, $18 million. Drew Dahlman, 3 years, $42 million. There's just a lot of these guys are making big, big money. What would you got? Your Dan Moore Jr. signed with the Titans, 4 years, $82 million. Just making money. Making money. The offensive lineman you're trying to protect.
He gave up more sacks than anybody in the NFL last year, and he got that kind of money. That's wild to me. Look, there's a couple of guys that you could bring in. I don't know if it'd be a long-term deal, but it could help patch you over until the next year. Yeah, Brandon Scherf is still out there. Kevin Zeitler is still out there at guard. Will Hernandez is an interesting name. I don't know if you want to necessarily go the Tyron Smith route. I think that he's kind of seen it all, and he I don't know if that's a good idea, but there's got to be something else that you bring in. This can't be it. Otherwise, it's going to get rough.
It's going to get rough. It's going to get rough no matter what, because you just didn't have the money to completely revamp it. Like the Bears went out and the Bears spent a ton of money and are spending a lot to revamp. And the Bears could could still pick a lineman in the draft. And so you could use a number 10 pick and spend, $30, $40, $50 million this year, just this season on offensive line to give Caleb Williams a chance. But the Texans didn't have that ability. It's going to be a tough one for them. And you still look at, you look at the running back position, and Dameon Pierce is coming up. Are you going to, is Dameon Pierce still going to be on this roster? And you trust him to be in there. And you feel maybe Nick Caley will be the third coach and he'll figure out how to get him back in there. Joe Mixon played really well last year, but we know he's an aging running back. He's going to miss some games due to injury. Just is what it is in the NFL as guys get older. So, and you're also talking about running behind. They were okay blocking sometimes for the run, but other times completely inept. It's just going to be a rough year for the Texans all around on that offensive line. I'm excited they're trying something. I'm big on the belief that you shouldn't stand still if something doesn't work. And I felt like they were going to, and maybe draft another lineman. And because that's what they've done the last few years, is just keep adding small pieces to a bad thing and hoping it gets better. And it continuously got worse. They were worse this year than they were the year before, and they were all injured the year before, which should tell you something was wrong. And I feel like that might have been the final, sign for Casario and this Texans front office, that it was too much, that they said we were better when everyone was hurt. So why are we paying our offensive line all of this money to be bad? We'll find out at the draft if they do go with tackle. I think if guys fall, there's those four offensive tackles that really all kind of take that first round grade. And Will Campbell, Armand Mimbu from Missouri, Josh Simmons, and Kelvin Banks are all first round grade guys. They're all probably, in any other draft would all be top 10, 15 picks. But now one of them might slide down because of everybody else. And now Kelvin Banks, and by the way, all those guys that I just named, all of them could be the first tackle off the board. Like, that's still on the table. I know Kelvin Banks is not getting that love, but that also could be a smokescreen. We've seen that happen plenty of times. CJ Stroud was a perfect example. That CJ Stroud, there was all the talk that he may not even be a first round pick. That he looks so bad that no, and of course the Texans were not buying that one. Yeah, we know we're taking it too. We were the ones pushing out that narrative that he sucked because they didn't want him to go. They didn't want Bryce Young apparently, so they pushed out that narrative. Yeah, so it's a right now for the Texans. They're in a decent place because I think the CJ Gardner-Johnson, to be able to bring him in, to get Sheldon Rankins back is a big piece as well. You also bring back Mario Edwards. So you feel pretty good about that defensive line right now, that you're doing pretty well on that end. You bring in Darrell Taylor as another guy to help you out on the edge. You bring back Derek Barnett on the edge. You feel really good about that. But then and then the CJ Gardner-Johnson, getting that safety at a position where you've kind of been in and out, and Ward has been healthy but not healthy, and you're just not sure what you're going to have in that backfield. Bringing in CJ Gardner-Johnson to really shore that secondary down with that pass rush. This team is clearly going to be led by the defense, but they're still going to have to try and figure out an offense because it's the AFC and the Bills and the Chiefs. I mean, maybe the Chiefs are on the downside, but the Ravens, how are you going to beat those teams? I just don't know if they're in the position right now. Maybe that offensive line figures it out, but right now it doesn't feel like they're there.
No, it doesn't. It seems like a case to me of a defensive coach going all in on the defense, and then they're going to look up around September or October next year, and they're going to be like, uh-oh. So
what's funny about it is they're not necessarily going out and spending tons of money on the defense. They spend more money on the offense, but at the end of the day, it doesn't equal out because you paid a bunch of money to offensive line. That was terrible. And now you're paying Joe Mixon. Now you paid Nico Collins. You're paying Christian Kirk. They have guys they're paying on that. You're paying Dalton Schultz. You're paying guys on the offense plenty. They're just not producing. And D'Amico Ryans is taking guys on the defense and turn them into really, really solid players. So it is a defensive head coach putting together his dream lineup of what he thinks is going to be great. Now, can he be the head coach and get the offense to be where it needs to be as well, as opposed to what it felt like with Bobby Slowick, where he just kept expecting Bobby Slowick to handle all the offense, and he wasn't able to. And now with Nick Caley, you have to have somebody to oversee that. And if it's not going to be D'Amico Ryans, you need to hire somebody else to oversee it. I'm not sure what they're going to be able to do, but it's an interesting look for the Texans as they go in. Why don't we take a quick word from our sponsors? If you guys want to join the conversation, have anything to add, anything you want to hit us up on the chat, hit us up on the text line as well. We're going to take a quick word from our sponsors. I want to come back, keep talking a little NFL before we get to basketball, and talk about Quinn Ewers and this quarterback carousel, because it'll continue the conversation of free agency, of where all these guys are going right now, and where Quinn Ewers may go, because I feel like it's changed a little bit since the last we talked, Matt, of what places could be an open door for Quinn Ewers and where he could actually end up, because most places have their starters now. And now it's where do they have a backup and who needs to grow. So we'll get into that when we come back. Also talk some Texas basketball. Anything y'all want to talk about, throw it in the chat. We'll get to that as well. Lots more coming up here on the Open Gym on Texas Sports Unfiltered.
Hi, I'm Hayden Covert. Welcome to Covert Buick GMC of Bee Cave, your home in the Hill Country for new and pre-owned Buick and GMC vehicles. With beautiful inventory arriving daily, including the GMC Yukon, Sierra 1500, and Buick Enclave, you'll be certain to find the perfect vehicle at an incredible deal. Our service department is also open for all your vehicle maintenance needs. Visit us today for a test drive. Covert, born and raised in Austin. We are professional grade.
Altstadt Beer, the best beer that you can find all throughout the great state of Texas. Y'all know I've been a fan of Altstadt for years now, and if you try it, I think you will be too. If you've already tried it, you know exactly what I am talking about. Altstadt is brewed locally in Fredericksburg, but available all over the state of Texas. So if you're tuned in Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, it does not matter. You can find Altstadt at a local grocery store or liquor store. They've got a bunch of different brews, something for every beer drinker out there. The lager, the Kolsch, those are their two flagship beers, both award winners. They are fantastic. The Altstadt Light sacrifices on calories but does not sacrifice on the taste. They've got great pills, tons of great seasonals as well. I'm telling you, one sip and you won't go back to the other beers you've been drinking in the past. It is the official beer of BK. It should be the official beer of you as well. It's Altstadt Beer. No impurities, no regrets.
Hi, this is Tom McKay with Audiovisual Consultations. Today's home electronics can be a bit daunting. My company has spent the last 36 years making sure they are not. For those of you who have not experienced our services yet, we'd like to invite you to give us a try for all your home electronics needs. We carry all the major brands of televisions and stereo equipment at prices you can't find in stores. And we come to you. There's no need to leave your home to find great pricing and incomparable service. No traffic and experienced sales geeks or pushy showroom tactics. We believe in having some fun and dreaming big. Do you have a dream for your home entertainment? Let us know. We can make it come true. And we are always there to help after the job is done. We cultivate clients for a lifetime by treating everyone like their family. No, not those family members. I'm talking about the ones you actually like. So relax, hug your kids, make love to your wife, and smile. Then, when you have a moment, give us a call at 255-8678. That's 512-255-8678. Or online at avconsultations.com.
Back here on Texas Sports Unfiltered, Open Gym 4 to 6 here on the show. Myself, Patrick Davis, and from Texas Longhorns on SI, Matt Galatzan joining me back in the saddle today. We did just see over while we were in the break, I saw that Justin Reed signed a deal with the Saints, taking one of the better safeties off the board now, joining in with Tyrann Mathieu. Should be an interesting secondary there in New Orleans. And another big shot for the Chiefs in that defense that they're just not able to keep guys going right now. So an interesting piece right there. But I want to get into the quarterback moves real quick. What's been going around and where we could see Quinn Ewers go as Texas fans, seeing where he could end up now that some moves have been done. And, one of the things we talked about, Matt, a lot was the Rams felt like the best place for him to go. And I think that still could be on the table. But the Rams keeping Jimmy Garoppolo does not help the cause for Quinn Ewers to end up on the Rams because now you're talking about not only drafting a guy high enough where you already feel like you have a backup that you feel pretty okay about because you're getting a guy that you feel confident in, Jimmy Garoppolo, but also you're saying you're going to have to carry 3 quarterbacks all season long because you can't put him on the practice squad or else somebody can go pick him up. So that always feels like the Rams may become much more of a long shot to me because of that Jimmy Garoppolo staying with LA, that if he's gone, feels like that's a little bit more likely.
Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of a bummer to me. I when you brought that up a couple weeks ago, I thought that was a fantastic fit for him. But there's still some places that I feel pretty good that he could fall that would be good for him. Cleveland signed Kenny Pickett, so hopefully that means that Cleveland's not going to be one of those spots.
Yeah, and all reports are they're going to try and get Kirk Cousins still. So all reports are they still want to get Kirk Cousins too, because Deshaun Watson isn't going to be healthy, and they don't. I mean, so they could be going out for 2 quarterbacks as well.
Yeah. So there's still plenty of places he could go. It's easier to predict now that some guys have fallen into place, but
yeah. So if I want to go down, so I kind of put together a list of where quarterbacks and backups are, just to give us a better idea of teams that may actually have a piece for him. We can say Buffalo has Josh Allen and Mitch Trubisky. They're out. Miami picked up Zach Wilson, so they have Tua and Zach Wilson. So they're probably out of the conversation. Jets are in the conversation. They did just sign Justin Fields, but Jordan Travis is their backup. He didn't really play because of that injury. Jordan Travis is your young guy that they may say, we got other places we need to pick it up. So they may not want to go there, but the Jets are at least in play to get him to come in and see if he sits behind. We'll go. I mentioned Rotten Naman brought this up. Patrick, what have you seen to say Ewers is even an NFL backup? He's really good at quarterback. Like he's really good at quarterback. He's better than quarterback. He's better than at least 20 NFL backups right now. And now the question is, can he consistently win? But as a backup, he's amazing, extremely coachable, has really good feel and touch on his passes. He can do a lot of things well in that position. Now, do I think he could be a long-term starter in the NFL? I'm not sure about that. He would have to prove that to me with time in the NFL. But as somebody that I want to bring in and put him behind and see what he can do in my system and see what he can do when I try and use different pieces of him. Now, because you could also look at Quinn Ewers and say, this guy's a little bit faster than Sark ever used him as. And if I'm putting him in offense where I want him to roll out a little bit more, maybe I feel better about him using him that way. We know what he's supposed to have been in Texas, but if you're a different type of coach, maybe you want to find one of those places for him. But yeah, he's a very good quarterback. I get the concept that he was never a world beater at Texas, but he can do a lot. It says 18 to 23. My little league QB can do that on air. No, he can't. Every single one of your little league quarterback passes would be intercepted at the line of scrimmage. I'm telling you, it's a lot harder than you think it is to throw those passes against top defenses. He can consistently do it. He's a really good quarterback. I know he doesn't have that deep ball all the time. If he gets his footwork down a little bit better, he does have the arm for it. So he can get the ball down there. He just got to put the ball a little bit less air on the ball. That's all coaching. That's all things you can work with. But yeah, he's a really, I mean, what he did with a torn abdominal last year, a torn oblique last year, is better than a lot of quarterbacks can do.
Yeah, I'm gonna go down I'm gonna have a speech if we continue talking about this. But he's a very good quarterback. I think he's going to be a good quarterback in the NFL. I think that he has a very good chance to be a good starter in the NFL if he keeps progressing and gets into the right system. So yes, I've seen plenty from him to tell me that he can do a lot of things at that level.
Yeah, and I mean, it may be that he is a backup quarterback and he is not the starter that's going to be able to come out and run your team for years. But a lot of these guys want a game manager, and a lot of these guys want somebody like that. He's never going to be your all-pro quarterback, I don't think. But he can do a lot of other pieces that he could work really well on some teams. As we keep going down the list, so the Jets were your first team that has a possibility of it. The Patriots have Drake May, so you're probably not drafting anybody. Joe Milton behind him as well. It's your young guy. The Ravens, Lamar Jackson. I don't think they're drafting a Quinn Ewers behind Lamar Jackson. I just don't think so. Possibly. Steelers, definitely a team that needs a quarterback right now. Russell Wilson's not under contract. Justin Fields is gone. We keep hearing the same things about Aaron Rodgers possibly being a fit there. You never know who they could make a trade and try and bring somebody in, but it feels like they're going to have to go the route of the draft to get somebody in. So the Steelers are definitely in play. We can go down. The Bengals are good with Joe Burrow and Jake Browning. The Browns have Deshaun Watson, Kenny Pickett. Rumors are they're going to get Kirk Cousins as well. Texans are good with C.J. Stroud and Davis Mills. Colts, Anthony Richardson. They just picked up Daniel Jones, it's a quarterback competition. Let's bring in Daniel Jones. I thought they may draft somebody to try and make that competition. It's a competition in name only. It's a competition in name only.
Arguably, the two worst quarterbacks in the NFL are now on the same roster. So that's two worst starting quarterbacks in the NFL are on the same roster. So they're going to have a lot of fun with that one.
Yeah, it's a competition there. Jaguars have Trevor Lawrence and Mac Jones. The Titans, interesting one. Will Levis, no one really else on this roster. You assume they would get someone before Quinn Ewers, though. I think even if they move on, I don't think they would draft Quinn Ewers necessarily to be their starter next season or even be behind Will Levis. That doesn't feel like what they would do. It feels like they're either going to go Cam Ward or Shadur Sanders, or you trade back, you try and get in, or trade up in the second round, trade back up into the first, and try and get a Jackson Dart and feel a little bit better about your odds right there. I mean, Ewers is better than Davis Mills. He is.
He probably will be better than Davis Mills. Yeah.
Davis Mills is a good quarterback. It's not, we're not like, but it's hard for me to believe that you really believe that Quinn Ewers, a guy who led his team to the college football playoffs with the torn oblique and has done this for Texas for years, is a garbage quarterback who should never be allowed to throw a football again. That's an insane take. Like,
almost had 2 back-to-back conference titles too.
Like, to go, well, all these scouts and every single scout and every single analyst says that Quinn Ewers is the 6th best quarterback at the draft at the worst, but he's garbage and shouldn't be allowed in the NFL. I don't get how you can think he's so bad. Like, I just don't get how you can watch football and think this guy is so bad at football. He's not great. I get he's not going to be a hero football player, but that's not all there is to football. That's like saying Joe Flacco is an awful quarterback and will never win a Super Bowl. It's a silly thing to say.
I also think it's
Super Bowl.
I also think it's a little unfair to project what he's going to be, whether he's going to be a game manager or whether he's going to be a superstar. I don't think anybody knows, because, and this is one of the biggest issues I have with NFL scouts to begin with, and with, not necessarily the top line NFL scouts that are working for franchises, but people who work for some Cowboys blog and they think they're some big NFL draft expert. Like, you can't project what a player is going to be before he gets on a field and gets into the offense that he's going to be in, or the defense that he's going to be in, or whatever. He's 18 or not 18. He's 21, 22, 23 years old. He's still developing. He's still maturing into his body. He's still maturing in his brain. He's still learning how to play football. He's still learning how to do everything that has to do with the game. It's not fair to project that he's never going to be able to do this. He's never going to be able to do that. I hate that. It's with every sport too. Give players a chance to get in and learn and develop. That's what being drafted is. It's development. The first round guys and the second round guys are the guys that you bring in that you think are going to start. Everyone else is a project. So let Quinn develop. Maybe he'll be the next Dak Prescott. We don't know. Did everybody think Dak Prescott was good?
Again, people think he's bad. He's not. I mean, this line between you're either Joe Burrow or you're trash means you can't talk football anymore. Because if the line is you're either an MVP candidate or you shouldn't be allowed to play, or you're not a starter, is crazy talk. Because there's people starting in the NFL who shouldn't be starters. There's plenty of room for players to get into this league and make their space. I understand this is your take and you're going to stick to it till the day you die because he didn't win us a national championship. He must completely suck and is a worthless human being who should be taken out back and shot, because what a horrible being he is, because he's not the greatest quarterback who's ever lived. It's a bad take. Just telling you right now, it's a bad take. He's a really good quarterback.
I'll say one more thing. Did anybody think that Dak Prescott was going to come into the NFL and be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL? No. Did anybody think that Jalen Hurts was going to come into the NFL and win a Super Bowl?
No.
I don't think so. So to say that anybody has any idea what Quinn Ewers is going to be doing in 5 years is ludicrous. I don't buy it. So yes. Anyway, let's continue to find a new team for him.
We'll keep going down. But yeah, when we keep going down the list, we'll get to we say the Titans is a possibility, because they do need a quarterback. If they do screw it up and don't take a quarterback at 1, can't get back up, Jackson Dart goes too early, then that becomes a question. Do you end up taking Quinn Ewers in the second round, third round? If he's still there, do you make that pick? I think the Chiefs are somebody to watch if Quinn Ewers falls to the third, fourth round. They don't really have a backup right now that they feel really good about. I don't think he'd ever start there, but I don't think he's going to be up Patrick Mahomes. I'm going to go on a limb on that one.
That's probably fair to say.
I think he'd be a backup there, but he could be a guy that if he falls there, they feel they want to have somebody to back up Patrick Mahomes. He could fall into that world as well. The Chargers, I feel they'd have to fall pretty far because they have a lot of needs. They have Justin Herbert, but they don't really have a backup there as well. But I think you have to fall pretty far to go to that roster. The Broncos are good with Bo Nix and Jarrett Stidham right now. The Raiders got Geno Smith and Aiden O'Connell, but there's always a chance that they could trade. They could, if they say we're not taking Shedeur Young or Shedeur goes before them, that they don't feel good about anybody else. So if you want to push that one backwards, maybe he falls into the second, third round. The Raiders say, this is the best quarterback we have. We wanted to take one by the second round. That's a place he could end up as well. I don't think he goes to the Eagles or the Commanders. They feel pretty good about their quarterback situation right now. Other places they probably want to fill. Cowboys are an interesting place right now. Cooper Rush is still a free agent. We don't know if he will re-sign. You assume he probably would, but we don't know. Maybe Cooper Rush ends up in New Orleans. Cooper Rush could be a backup in New Orleans with Kellen Moore. And could you look for a change of scenery? So that's an interesting one that maybe they look at him and say if he's available in the third round. I think these are all third to fourth round guys. If Quinn starts to fall down, you could go into a Cowboys world where, hey, we think we have this guy graded as a second round talent. So he's still here. Let's go get a guy that maybe, and we know Dak could get hurt. We feel pretty good about it. The Giants definitely need a quarterback, so they're in play for everybody. I think they'll get one before Quinn Ewers, but they're in play. Lions are pretty good with Jared Goff and Hendon Hooker. The Vikings are an interesting one. I think the Vikings are a really interesting pick. They have a really good coach who likes to work with quarterbacks. Once we got Sam Darnold to move on, now it is J.J. McCarthy's team. But if you're not fully sold on J.J. McCarthy, which it does not feel like the Vikings are, maybe you take a quarterback and you say, worst case scenario, J.J. McCarthy's great. We wasted our second round pick on Quinn Ewers, or it's our third round pick on Quinn Ewers, and we'll try and trade him. And we'll try and get some value out of him, we'll get a fourth round pick back for him in a year or so. But if not, we have another guy that we feel if J.J. McCarthy's not there yet, we have another player we can do, and we feel we can get him with our coaching staff to play at the level we want him to play at. Packers feel good. Bears are going to be good. The Buccaneers, another team. The Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield, he's playing really well. They don't have a backup. You never know. They could look to get younger. They could look to rebuild soon. So you take a quarterback again on a flyer. I don't think that one's crazy either. Looking over, the Falcons are good. The Panthers are good. The Saints, another team, need a quarterback coming up. Kellen Moore is a coach over there. Does he want to take a quarterback as they go? They have Spencer Rattler. I don't feel like that's the guy, though. And Derek Carr, we know, is not going to be the guy. Rams feel good now. Seahawks have Sam Howell as a backup. And so I don't think they're going to go after they make that trade for Darnold. They pay him a lot of money. I don't know if they're going to go ahead and get a quarterback there. Cardinals just picked up Jacoby Brissett to back up Kyler Murray. They also have Clayton Tune that they took a year ago. So another quarterback there. And then finally your 49ers, also an option. Also an option for the 49ers. Kyle Shanahan definitely has his ties to the University of Texas. So there's some definite teams on that list. The 49ers, Saints, Bucks, Vikings, Giants, Cowboys, Raiders, Chiefs, Titans, and Steelers, who I would say would be the teams that I would look at and say, these are viable places that Quinn could end up. Now, he could end up somewhere else, but I just don't see any of those teams desperately looking for a quarterback the same way.
No, and there are a couple of teams that jump out to me that I think would be good places for him. Number one is Las Vegas. I still want to call them Oakland. I just have to stop myself every time. It's going to take me a long time to get over that one. I like that situation there with Tom Brady. Pete Carroll, I think that would be good for him. The Cowboys would be an interesting fit. They certainly need a backup. I don't know that they're convinced that Dak Prescott's going to, be the end-all, be-all, even though they just paid him all that money. He has a hard time staying healthy, so that would be a good place for him. The Steelers, I think, would be a really good spot for him. I feel like he would fit in really well with that organizational culture and all those things. If he's going to be a starter, if there's one place on that list where I think he's going to be a starter, it would probably be Minnesota. I think he would beat J.J. McCarthy out in a one-on-one competition if it's really open, because I think J.J. McCarthy is absolute trash. I think he was the most I think he was the most overrated prospect in that draft that he came out in. I did not think that he was anywhere close to what he was being projected as. Now, I just got off the soapbox about Quinn Ewers saying don't project a guy too early and before he comes out and all that stuff. So maybe he's going to end up being great. But I think Quinn has a chance to be a better quarterback than J.J. McCarthy. I thought that was a huge reach. So that would be a place that I'd be very interested in him going. I selfishly want him to go to the Cowboys because I know that Dak is going to have another season-ending injury at some point in the next year or two. And I would love to see Quinn with a star on his helmet and come in and save the day. So.
No, and I think J.J. McCarthy, he's an interesting one. That offense at Michigan wasn't going to use him a ton no matter what. So you don't really know what you got with him. The reports, now he got hurt, but the reports were that he was going to be the starter, and then he got hurt. But then you keep hearing reports that they're not sold on him being the long-term quarterback. So you don't know if it's because they're worried about injuries, if it's because they were saying he was going to be the starter, but that was because it was bad. But we saw Sam Darnold turn out to have a good season. So, I mean, every piece of it seems a little odd right now in Minnesota, but I could still see them. Again, he's one that probably falls. You don't take him before the third round if you're Minnesota. But if he's sitting there and Kevin O'Connell feels good about it, I think that's a great place for him to end up. For sure, because we've seen what he's been able to do. I mean, he just earned Sam Darnold a ton of money because of what he was able to do. And even at the end of that season, there was a little bit of problems. But Double D says Steelers should draft him and Helm. That would be a fun pairing to have up there. I don't know if I would put him on the Steelers right now with the wide receivers they have, because it feels like you have two guys who want you to put the ball up in the air pretty far downfield, and that's not the guys I would draft him on right away. Because,
that's a good point.
I mean, I don't know if I'm going to put George Pickens and DK Metcalf, and, I mean, if I'm Quinn Ewers, I'm a little scared walking in that locker room. A little scared. Those are my top two wide receivers.
Or you feel really good about the fact that you're going to run the ball a lot, and those guys are just going to beat the crap out of everybody downfield. So I don't know. That'd be interesting. I think he has a chance to be a better downfield thrower the more that he works at it. And when he's fully healthy, I think that's a part of his game that he can really hone in on. Maybe that's a little wishful thinking, but those are two really good receivers, and I think he could get the ball to him. I really do, but maybe I'm just biased.
By the way, I like Hair the Dog says he still calls them the Chargers, and he also says going to be weird to have to get used to calling them the Las Vegas Mavericks. But that's not the case. The Mavericks name would stay in Dallas. Mm-hmm. The Mavericks name would stay in Dallas. The team would move to Vegas, and then they would just build an expansion team in Dallas, and it would be the Dallas Mavericks. But it would be like how the Charlotte Hornets are, where it's not the original Hornets, or the Cleveland Browns are, but they're not the Browns. But you would just have another team in Dallas, because why would you not want a team in one of the biggest markets in the U.S.? You want to have a team there. So they would just do that. I do think that if they were to move to Vegas, they need to change their name to be something like the Las Vegas Fit, or like the Las Vegas. They need to change it into something that's still a shot at Luka, to be really on brand with what this ownership is. I think it just has to be a shot to Luka Doncic, because that is what the Mavs ownership does really well right now. Nothing else they're doing is really well, but they're good at taking some shots at Luka. I appreciate you. I also love on the text side, we've got some people out there feel better about Sam Ehlinger than Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones as the Colts quarterback. I wish the Colts felt the same way. I wish they did feel the same way, but they won't even put him in as a backup. They love having him. Jim Irsay is a big Sam Ehlinger fan, but he does not want him to be the starting quarterback. That's for sure. But yeah, there's definitely the Chiefs one is really interesting to me, because looking at that one, you're like, if he fell like, especially the fourth round, that feels like such a good fit for the Chiefs. And then you pair him back up with X, and it feels good. Like there's a piece about that feels, but it's like you're never going to be a starter there. So you're basically going to play out your contract, and then, it may ruin your career because you don't ever get there. But that one feels like they could, like that. They just go grab a guy like that, and you're like, well, he's going to win. He might win a Super Bowl on the bench. And then also, I mean, you put him with Baker in Tampa Bay. It seems toxic. Seems like it'd be a lot of fun for all the problems you'd have there. But yeah, if you had to go right now, if you think when you look at what's happened in free agency, Matt, with everything and all the quarterbacks and a lot of positions being filled, basically the Giants and Steelers are your two teams, maybe Titans are your three teams that don't really have a day one quarterback right now. Everybody else has a day one quarterback, at least something to put out there. And the Titans could put out Will Levis, and it wouldn't shock anybody. But the Steelers have nobody right now because Russell Wilson's not under contract. And the Giants have Tommy DeVito, I believe, is their only quarterback under contract. So those two teams need a quarterback desperately bad. Who do you think it is? Where do you think he ends up now? Does he end up being a second-round pick, or does he fall to third because maybe there's not the run on quarterbacks that there's been in the past couple of years? Maybe, they take those first 3 or 4, and if he's not in that, he may slide. Where do you put Quinn Ewers right now?
I think he's somewhere late second, early third, depending on where the run of quarterback starts. It's just a matter of if a team sees him as a player who, or if one of those three teams sees him as a player who could be a long-term starter. I love Jackson Dart. I watched Jackson Dart for 2 years at Ole Miss. I don't know what I didn't see that all these other people are seeing that makes him look like a first-round pick. Because in Lane Kiffin's offense, especially this past year, if you go back and you watch Ole Miss football this year, and nobody watched more Ole Miss football than I did this past year, so I promise you this is the case. If you go watch Ole Miss, it's either dump the ball off to a tight end or launch it deep for Jackson Dart or take off running. There's barely any intermediate passing. There's barely any touch or, any sort of intricacy in that passing attack with him. It's if the first option's not there, launch it. And maybe that changes in the NFL. I don't get it. So I would still take Quinn over Jackson Dart. I think Jackson Dart's a little bit too high on everybody's board. He had a great combine, so that probably has a lot to do with it. But I don't know. It's really hard for me to say. I don't think the Titans are necessarily an option because I don't think that that's something that they would want to do. I think that they either pick a quarterback early like Cam Ward, or they just don't pick anybody at all, and they kick the can down the road until next year and they ride with Will Levis. I think that Pittsburgh is a good option. The Giants are 100% going to pick a quarterback in my book. I don't think there's any way around it at this point. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. There's still a lot of different options for him out there this year, but hopefully it's somewhere that, he can get a good development and a good quarterback coach and a good system and a healthy organization that doesn't start with the Jets or the Browns. Anything other than that, I'd be happy.
I think the Jackson Dart thing is when we look at what Josh Allen is, I think Jackson Dart falls enough into that mold of player that people feel, well, he can run and he can chunk it downfield so we can turn him into the next Josh Allen. And I think that kind of falls where Jackson Dart falls, where they just go, we know that prototype works and we can make him that prototype, which if you're the Giants, sure, go get Jackson Dart and then be thrilled because Brian Daboll made Josh Allen. Josh Allen made Josh Allen, but Brian Daboll is your head coach. He came from the Bills. So you maybe you wanted to get him and you find a way, which it would be hilarious if the Giants just stay at 3 and teams trade up ahead of them and take Shedeur and Cam Ward. And they're like, what the hell? We felt pretty good about this. Would be hilarious to see, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with all of that as it gets going. I think Quinn Ewers could fall now to that 3rd round, which I really thought he was going to be a 2nd-round quarterback, but now you're seeing more and more teams address it early on, that it feels like there's other needs that could be out there. Now, if Jackson Dart goes in the 1st round, that could change things out a little bit, because if he ends up going in the 1st round, now all of a sudden we're having to deal with, the 2nd round. And then if it's Jalen Milroe or if it's Stroud, whoever it is, or Schuff or whoever it is that gets picked before Quinn Ewers, now all of a sudden that starts to push you a little bit more, that anybody who feels they wanted to get a quarterback, go get one. We know ownership loves to get quarterbacks. So there's going to be a point when the owner's sitting in the draft room and Quinn Ewers is still there midway or halfway through the 2nd round. He's going to start asking, and he'll start asking about those quarterbacks. Well, what are we going to do? Why don't we take that? We're not sure about our guy. Where's our quarterback? There's enough teams that could use a quarterback. He could still go in that late part of the 2nd round. but it's going to depend. It really depends where Jackson Dart goes. If Jackson Dart goes earlier, then Quinn Ewers comes off the board in the second round. If Jackson Dart falls to like the very end of the first round or second round, it really could spell disaster for Quinn Ewers, because now that run on quarterbacks doesn't feel like it's going to come, and he's going to slide back and he'll be in that second frame of quarterbacks. So that's one of the ones you just have to kind of wait till we see. I mean, you're still assuming there's some people that have the Shedeur Sanders slide that I don't see happening at all. I mean, I think you're saying by 6 at the latest, 2 quarterbacks are gone. And I mean, Charles Davis did his mock draft. I think he had 3 quarterbacks in the first 3 picks, because he was just like, look, this is what happens in the NFL now. Everybody drafts quarterbacks. And you trade up for them, you get them, but quarterbacks go early. So
I will say there has been a history of reaching on quarterbacks in recent years. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. I thought Bo Nix was one of those guys. Obviously, J.J. McCarthy is one of those guys. So maybe that does happen. Maybe somebody trades up for Jackson Dart at number 10. Bears trade back a couple spots, and somebody goes up and gets a Jackson Dart, and then everything changes and you don't know. Maybe Quinn slides up into the mid-second round. So there's a lot of different things could happen. Crazy things happen on draft night. Maybe somebody trades up for Quinn. We don't know. We really don't.
Yeah. I mean, there's always, because it depends on, all it takes is one guy to get high on you, and then they're all in. We've seen it work out. The Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes story was it was Brent Veach was just like, I really, really, really want this guy. And they had to keep going back and forth. And finally it was done that they sold him on it. They trade up, they get him, and the rest is history. So you never know who it's going to end up being, but it is, I mean, you just hope for Texas' sake. You hope that the offensive linemen go a little bit early. You hope that quarterbacks go a little bit early, and you're able to pull those guys up in that area. Jahdae Barron's going to be fine. Matthew Golden's going to be fine. Those guys are still going to go top. But Kelvin Banks sliding to the 4th tackle feels crazy to me still. And Quinn Ewers sliding in that 3rd round, where it's a little bit more scary. Are you a day 2 guy or a day 3 guy? Because once you're a day 3 guy, you are no longer in long-term plans. You are in a test it and we'll see. So if you're in the second day, you're still in the plans. But once you get to day 3, man, if it works out, great. But you have to do everything on your own. Like, you have to earn this spot now. And so it's a little bit scarier once you get into day 3 if you're in the draft, because they can only care about so many players. We talk about that in the NBA a lot. People talk about second round draft picks. Like, if you're a second round draft pick, no, people don't really care. That's go to the G League, go play good like work on your game and build it up and become a good player for us. But we're not going to sit around and plan on you being in our program in 3 years. You have to earn that spot. We like you. We think you have potential, but we're not there. If you're a first round pick, probably going to get some more attention. They're going to be in it. It's a guaranteed contract. But once you get to day 3 of the NFL draft, those contracts are not guaranteed anymore. You're going to get kicked out pretty quick, not making any money. So that's where, if you're Texas, you'd like to see Quinn Ewers go a little bit higher. We know the next quarterback feels like he'll go pretty high, though. The quarterback after him, I feel that Arch Manning kid might go pretty high in the draft. Just my opinion. I do want to get to some Texas basketball talk real quick, because I haven't gotten your opinion on this. We haven't talked since you've been off the show with getting all fixed up by them doctors. So want to get your opinion on Texas basketball, where you're at now, because it has been back and forth. And, we've talked some about Rodney Terry and where he stands, and is it a time to move on, or should you give him another year? Where's the program at? And I've talked about this with all of our other guest hosts that we've had over the past couple weeks, or the past week. We've talked about, is this a problem? Is this a solely RT problem? How big is the problem? What do you need to do to fix it? Where are you right now on this Texas program? If they're going into the SEC tournament tomorrow afternoon before our show, I believe they're assuming about 2:30, but between 2 and 3 o'clock, you'll probably see the start of the Texas game against Vanderbilt. So when we come on, it'll still be going on. But that Texas Vanderbilt game, which, I mean, I'm going to throw this out there. Tell me if I'm wrong, Matt. It's a must-win game for the Longhorns.
It should be. You definitely can't lose to Vanderbilt if you're Texas or Rodney Terry. I don't really know what to feel about this team. It's very frustrating because every single one of these games they lost over the back half of the season, or the back stretch of the season, where we said they absolutely have to win them. They absolutely have to win it. They lost it.
Yeah.
In the game, we were like, okay, well, maybe they're, that one might be a little out of reach. I don't know. Mississippi State, they won that game. Mm-hmm. So this Vanderbilt game kind of feels like a loss to me, just based on that pattern. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. It's what I keep coming back to is that, if you're going to move on from Ronnie Terry, it makes a lot of sense in the realm of, well, look at what happened this year. This was the worst Texas basketball team that we've seen in a minute, and it was very inconsistent. It was very sloppy. The team was not built the right way. Those are all very good excuses to move on from a coach. On the other side of that coin, I saw a stat earlier that Ronnie Terry has won 4 NCAA tournament games since being the head coach in 2022. And before that, it had taken them, I don't remember the exact year, but it had taken them years to reach that amount of tournament wins. So since, I have to go back and look at it, but he's done well in the NCAA tournament. He's gotten his team to the NCAA tournament. This year, he's probably not going to do that, especially if they drop a game to Vanderbilt. So, maybe I'm wrong. But if they do decide to move on, it's just like we talked about before. Where do they go? And I don't think there's a viable option out there at the moment.
No, there's not. And I mean, now Chris Del Conte has pulled stuff off before. There's names that could come up. And, unfortunately, too, normally the names that come up are either small conference guys that do well in the tournament and are ready to move on because they want to move up, which is not necessarily where you're at right now as a program, that you want somebody coming in that doesn't know what they're doing, because that's the problem you have right now, is that you had guys that don't know how to build a championship program. Now, they may know how to coach it, but they don't know how to build it. And so if we say they don't know how to build that thing, I think, one of the big pieces, I talked about this a lot yesterday, you have to bring in a GM now. I have no problem with Chris Ogden as a person, and I think he has a good basketball mind. I don't think he understands where the landscape is of college basketball right now to be a top team. So if Texas wants to be a top 10, top 5 team in basketball, you have to bring in the guy who is an agent, who knows how to make these NIL deals, who knows how to get the connections and all of those pieces, knows what you need to bring in, knows how to make they talk to the donors and pitch things properly. If all those pieces are put together, then Texas has a shot to move with whoever your coach is, whether it be Rodney or whoever you hire. But the name that I saw thrown out yesterday by some people, was talking to some different people, and I saw it online as well. It's a name that's come up a lot because his name is starting to get back in vogue, was Will Wade. And Will Wade is a perfect example of, you don't fire Rodney Terry to hire Will Wade. It's a perfect example of an overrated and has done nothing more than Rodney Terry has done coach. And so, Will Wade has won less tournament games than Rodney Terry has. And the tournament games that he really, he was credited for winning, I don't even think he was a coach, because that was when he got suspended. And it was in the tournaments, and he was suspended for cheating, and that's when they made the run to the Sweet 16. But they only went to the Sweet 16. He got suspended for the end of that season for bribing players, which at the time you couldn't do, and now it's a whole different landscape. But he wasn't even the head coach at some of those games in game. And then after that, they didn't make the tournament. Then they made the tournament again the following year and lost in the first round. Or then it was the second year they lost. They won one game in the last 2 years in the tournament. So it was very mediocre, like what Texas does. They finished the season ranked one time in his tenure at LSU. So as a top program, again, not what you're talking about of coaching young guys, which I know is all the glory and everything else that, all this. Well, he makes these young guys play so hard, and that's what we want out of them. It's Texas. We're not that. We can never be these young upstarts who play hard and get a spot. That's not what Texas is. Texas is, you bring in the better players, you spend the money, you get the guys, and you put together a really good roster, and you try and get a top recruit. And I don't know if Will Wade has that. I know he can build it. I know he didn't build a program at LSU, and that's the one shot he got before this. And the others are much smaller schools where you're not talking about NIL money. If there's any NIL, it's pretty small. You're not talking about the same difference of a guy calling and you're trying to recruit him, and he says, I'm getting an offer for 1.5 over here, and you have to get 1.7 pretty quick, like and within the next few hours. That's a whole different ballgame, which is why I think you need a GM that is really good at those things to be able to turn this program up. And there's just not the name out there to make you really think this is where we go. Now, if you want to say Royale Ivy, fine, but hire a GM, hire a program builder with Royale Ivy, hire someone who knows the assistant coaches that are going to get you the better recruits, hire a program builder, get someone who understands today's college basketball. If you want to look at why Chris Beard was really good a few years ago at Texas Tech, it's because he was ahead of the curve with the transfer portal. The game caught back up to him. You need to find a guy as a GM who's ahead of the curve right now. And we're seeing more and more schools spend a lot of money to bring in GMs because it's too much for these coaches to handle. And the difference between a coach and a GM right now is a pretty big difference. It's a pretty big difference because it's not basketball, it's business. And so that for me is the biggest thing that Texas needs to do in the offseason. If you want to talk to me next season about being a powerhouse school in basketball, is you just need to have somebody to help run this program. They've done it in football. They've spent the money to go get those guys in football. So I'd love to see them do it in basketball.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the landscape of college sports today. You got to find a guy who can bring in the talent. They did a terrible job of that last year. The recipe of this roster, the mix of this roster is just an absolute disaster to me. I was watching that Oklahoma game with my dad. Granted, I was on painkillers, but it looked pretty bad to me. It looked really bad. You know, that there wasn't a lot of cohesion there. It's Trey Johnson and everybody else, and they got to figure out that problem first. And if you're Texas, unless you're going to go out and make some big blockbuster splash hire that's going to change everything, like bringing Jay Wright back from the booth, or stealing
Nate Oates, or
like some big name coach, going and getting Bill Self. It's really hard to see a solution in the short term. So you just got to kind of ride it out. And right now, if Rodney Terry wants to make everybody feel better, he goes and he beats Vanderbilt. He goes and he beats Texas A&M after that. And then maybe you're in the tournament and your fans feel really good because you knocked A&M out of the SEC tournament. And, maybe that's good enough to make everybody shut up for another 6 months. But, it's very frustrating situation for Texas basketball fans. I totally understand it. There's not a lot of easy solutions. And Will Wade is not one of those solutions either.
No, and it's that concept that it comes into how much money it's going to cost to have a team that is going to win tournament games next season. And if you really want to talk about it, of how many millions of dollars this is going to cost to do. And I get that sucks that this is, the way college basketball is right now. And it's the way college sports is right now. But Texas is already talking about having to raise more money to deal with the cost of getting with the promotional rights and all of that, all this stuff that they're going to have to start paying out, the increased scholarships. CDC talked at his town hall about they have to raise. They're not fully there where they need to be yet. And that's not even talking about building new facilities and fixing other problems that Texas has. And you're now saying to get them where they want to be, because it's where everybody wants, a $6 million buyout for RT. Then paying a general manager probably $2 to $3 million a year minimum. So we're already at $9 million before we've got a coach. Then you have to hire the new coach. So now you're shelling out more money. And if you want to make it a splash hire, then they're talking another $5, $6, $7 million. So we're getting up to $15 million, and we don't have a roster yet. And now we have to go out and buy the roster, which I get that sucks, but that's part of it now, and everyone else is doing it. So if you want to keep up and be that school, these are all costs that go into being a basketball school right now. If you want to be a football school, that's fine. Keep RT, pay $2-3 million, get a general manager. That's all you're going to have to spend on that. And then you just spend another $7 to $9 million on your roster. And at $11 million, you have a team that can compete in the championship or compete in the tournament next season. Right? So You're talking about the expenses of between 10 million to 15 to compete next season, or 30, and maybe it works out and you feel pretty good about yourself going into next season. Now you could say we just need to tear it down and rebuild, and we'll be fine. I don't believe you. I don't believe you because I don't think that anyone's ever okay with rebuilding at Texas. But if that's what you want to, if you're set for it, then you can go on and rebuild that way and say, we're going to bring in Royale Ivy, or we're going to bring in, McCausland or somebody like that that's on, from not necessarily the top level of schools, and we're going to try and get them to take that next step up to being a real big-time coach in the SEC and try and recruit at Texas and get the money and deal with all of those pieces. Maybe you could do that. Maybe maybe that's the thing, and it'll take 2 or 3 years because financially it's going to cost us. Maybe we won't hire a GM this year, and we'll just pretend that that's not a thing anymore, and that every other school that's competing is doing it right now. I think that's really what you look at it, and you have to go and try and make an impact by bringing in the right people to run it. And right now it feels like you're still somewhat in that old school basketball mode, and the world is changing. And so if you want to compete, this is it. This is how you compete. And if you don't, and you say, we don't want to spend $20 million a year, great. Don't complain about basketball anymore then. That's the two sides right now. I know it sucks, but that is where it's at.
Yeah, I mean, show me a Texas fan that wants the school to put less money into the football program and more money into basketball. I don't think you're going to find that fan, unless they're just some diehard Texas basketball fan. I have a hard time believing that's the case for really anyone. It's a football school. It will always be a football school. Are there ways for them to eventually get back up there? Absolutely. They did it with Chris Beard. They were ranked number 1 in the country at one point.
Yeah. By the way, also Chris Beard doesn't play non-conference opponents. I hate it, but he doesn't do it. It's the reason why Ole Miss got ranked a lot higher this year. They haven't been. They're okay. They're an okay team, but they're not.
Yeah,
just not a shot at Chris Beard. He just doesn't do it. A lot of coaches don't. A lot of coaches don't want to do it. CDC does though,
which is fine. But the point is, unless you're going to do something drastic to really put a bunch of money into your program and change a lot of things in the way you do business, which doesn't seem like something that they're really keen to do at this exact moment, then you're just going to have to ride it out for a little while and see what happens. You're probably not going to have a new coach. I do like the idea of going out and getting a GM, but outside of that, in the roster and fixing the roster, it's just, if you try to do everything at once, it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
There's way too many moving parts. So you got to do it incrementally. And I think that Rodney Terry, as much as everybody's given him flack this year, and I've been one of them too, but as much as everybody's given him flack, I think he's the least of your problems out of all of the things that you need to fix going forward. So fix those things. And if it's still a disaster, then change Rodney Terry.
Yeah, and I think at the point you get a GM in and you say, let's try and rebuild this roster. You have a ton of guys graduating that'll be gone next year. Julian Larry, Jason Kent, Zarek Onyema, Caden Shedrick, Tremont Mark, Arthur Kaluma. All those guys are going to be gone, right?
Colbot, miss like 2
Colbot on the bench. Don't forget the walk-ons. He's going to be, all those guys are going to be gone. So we say all of those guys are gone. Trey Johnson's going to be gone. So if you would just want to say returning minutes, Jordan Pope will be gone. So if you want to say returning minutes, it's Kendall Weaver and Devin Pryor, possibly Nick Cody if he comes back. He'd be in that lineup. It's 3 guys who played minutes this year that are back. So again, and that's assuming they don't transfer or would do whatever else, right? So if you say that's where you're at right now, and all 3 of those could transfer. It's college basketball. Everyone transfers all the time. And you have a couple other guys on your bench like Vincent that you picked up. That's a big 6'11" guy. Maybe that's a project you can build back up, but it doesn't feel like if he's not playing this year, he's probably not getting big minutes next year. So you're back in the transfer portal. Can you get a GM to walk you through and have a game plan to go out and attack it, where it just felt like Texas didn't have that this year? Because you would hear a rumor about a player and Texas in the conversation, and that team's talking to Texas, and all of a sudden they're somewhere else. And it just, too many times that was happening where you don't want to be the guy who's constantly missing out. And Texas in the last offseason was missing out a lot. The year before that, the Ron Holland and AJ Abrams thing, that if you had Ron Holland on that team, watch Ron Holland and the Pistons this year. I know no one watches Pistons basketball, but if you watch Pistons basketball, Ron Holland, man, Texas fans would have loved Ron Holland. He gets in a fight every 15 minutes. He is an intense dude. So it would have been a lot of fun to watch him playing basketball for Texas as well. That ends up screwing Texas last year. They're still get to the tournament, but they are losing. They missed that piece where you could make a run with Ron Holland, and without it, you're kind of a piece short. This year, you built an entire team, maybe a little trepidatious that Trey Johnson isn't going to come after all. But now the G League was gone, so that was a little bit easier. You don't have that threat anymore. But you get Trey Johnson in. It doesn't feel like Jordan Pope and Trey Johnson ever got along playing right. Tremont Mark wanted to have the ball in his hands more. The injuries piled up. There's just a lot of things that happened this season to make it end up the way it did. And part of that is, as much as Rodney Terry's a good coach and Chris Ogden knows basketball, you have a lot of guys doing, again, the biggest job they've ever done. I talk about this with the Texans. Get somebody in there who's been there and done that and knows how to do these things and knows how to build that back up. And I think you could find that. And I know some people would say that was Chris Beard. Chris Beard did a lot of things really well, but his teams weren't complete either. We know that he got guys that were not necessarily the best players that you could have gotten. So it's, it is what it is because it's Texas basketball and you're going to miss out on some of these guys. But at the same point, I think you could get a lot closer to the mark if you bring in someone to help with that aspect. And then you go and start looking at your assistant coaching staff and you try and make the adjustments you need to make. Maybe, get rid of one guy, bring in somebody else who's a little bit better recruiter, especially if you get someone who's a better recruiter of big men. So you can maybe get another big man in there, help you out. The problem that Rodney Terry's had where he wants to have a big man, they just haven't had one the last couple of seasons. I think you could get, those are all things to help you build. But right now, there just doesn't feel like there's that name out there that's a sure thing. I feel good about this happening for Texas. And until I hear that name, then I'm going to be on board with let's spend our money more judiciously and wisely than paying a big buyout for RT and having to replace all these things and maybe not fulfilling all the positions we need.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's just too many moving parts, too much going on. You gotta win each battle one at a time. It's not going to be an easy fix. You gotta pick the right battles and win those first. And I don't think Terry's one of those battles. So
no, but I'll also say this: anything's possible. And if Texas beats Vanderbilt and gets blown out by 30 points to A&M, there's going to be people calling CDC's office offering to pay the $6 million. Now that doesn't mean they'll offer to pay anything after that, but there will be people offering to pay the $6 million out of pocket right now to get rid of that bum because they hate him because he just lost to the Aggies. That'll happen. So CDC's going to have to deal with that. If they win this game and do not beat the Aggies, that's a phone call CDC's going to get because that's how Texas fans are.
It kind of makes you wonder if his job is safer if he just loses to Vanderbilt or if he beats Vanderbilt.
I know,
A&M.
Might genuinely be safer if he just loses to Vanderbilt than if he gets blown out by A&M. And the A&M wasn't scary because A&M plays a lot of defense, and you're like, that could be a game where it's like 45, like 65. You lose by 20. You're like, we scored 45 points in a game. Oh, but that's how bad this offense has been at points. But we cross that bridge when we get to it. And tomorrow we'll go more into. We'll talk about Vanderbilt as we get ready for that game, or as we're watching that game, and we'll be walking you through it because that's going to be a big one for Texas. I think they have a shot at this game. Vanderbilt's not so much better than them that I'm too worried about it. I'm worried about it because of Texas. It feels like another game for Texas that if they play winning basketball, they should be fine. But how many times have we said that so far? And they don't.
At least 4 of the last 5 games.
If they just play winning basketball, they played winning basketball against Oklahoma, and Trey Johnson couldn't hit a shot. And if Trey Johnson hits a shot, all that changes. And so they've played winning basketball, but are they going to be able to get it done? It's just going to be. It's just rough. It's just rough being a Texas fan right now. Yeah, you guys are going to look out for Jason Edwards is a big one for Vanderbilt, the guard. He averages 17 points a game. You got a couple other big guys, or you got another big guy in Devin McLaughlin that you want to watch out for, another guy that can score the ball. He's 6'7". They're not super tall, so Texas will have a little bit of a height on them as well. But they just got to be able to rebound the ball score the ball against Vanderbilt, if you can score the ball, again, I said before the game, you have to have 4 to 5 guys in double digits. They had 4 guys in double digits. Trey Johnson wasn't one of them. You have to have 4 to 5 guys in double digits, and Trey Johnson is one of them. So I'll amend what I said before, but you have to be able to spread the ball around, because if it's just Trey Johnson, I don't know if that works against anybody.
Yeah, I agree. He can't do it himself. It has to be a complete team effort. It's, I feel bad for that kid. I really do.
I do. And I think he's getting a valuable lesson of what it's going to be like being a lottery pick in the NBA. He's getting a valuable lesson about how hard it is, because a lot of these guys win at a very high level and then don't anymore. Like, if you end up on the Wizards or somewhere else, it's over, man. It's over until you get done. It's a bad life. I mean, you're a millionaire, so I'd take that. But I want to get a little bit. Did you get the chance, Matt, to see any of Sark speak to the media yesterday, and what he's coming out with the new spring, what Texas is going to look forward to, so people can understand what's going to be a little bit different about spring practice this year rather than years past?
Yeah, I mean, CDC had kind of, given us an idea of what that might look like. Sark talked a little bit about it, but it kind of sounds to me like it's just going to be more of a training camp type atmosphere. He said that, his big thing is about development. To me, at least, that's what it seems like. His exact quote: "We are not having a spring game because I have 27 new faces on my roster that I need to take time to develop. That development starts at the beginning of spring ball. We were going to really build a foundation of understanding of the whys and what we do, from how the practice, from practice to the drills, foundational aspects of the offense, the defense, special teams." So they're really going all in on development and getting everybody into the system and learning everything. And it sounds like training camp OTAs, which I think is fine. If they want to approach it a little differently, that's great. There's some players that they're going to be without, which is unfortunate, like CJ Baxter, but I don't think they're too worried about that. They know what he can do. So, yeah, I mean, it sounds interesting. I like the approach. I don't think the spring game being gone is that big of a deal in terms of like the development of the team. I think it sucks for the fans, but in terms of what they're going to do in spring practice and the way they're approaching it, I think it's going to be good.
No, and I mean, this is when you look at it, and when he talked about how many injuries there were still still happening after the end of last season, you do realize that it's not really been that long since Texas was playing football, that you normally feel like, okay, well, it's, you stop playing in close to the end of the year, like November, and then you get one game maybe in January, but they kept playing. And so these guys are just still pretty beat up that are coming back. A lot of the young guys haven't been in. We talked about that transfer portal at the end of the year. It's like our practices were screwed up at the end of the year too, because guys are leaving the program before we're done because it's the transfer portal. You also are going to look again, the transfer portal opens back up while they're in spring training. So that's going to be a piece where your guys are going to be leaving during spring training. Like, guys be leaving the program and entering the transfer portal while they're in spring training because they feel like they're too far in the depth chart, or don't like a new coach, or whatever it is, or they see someone else come in and they want to get back out. So all that'll be happening over spring training as well. But I think that's kind of where Sark wants to make it too a little bit lighter on the guys, not only because of what the wear and tear is, but because he understands that I don't want to necessarily go out there. I want to go in there and teach them and make football fun for a little bit, because if I go out there and try and sit in this, let's go to hell, let's get you into conditioning, the old school spring football, make them run till they puke, I'm probably going to lose a couple more guys to the transfer portal. And it's screw the spring game, but I'm going to lose him before that, because why would a guy, when he goes, dude, I'm not even playing, and they got me over here, they got guys that are bringing in ahead of me. I think there could be something to the effect too of, we want to get them ready, but we want to teach them, and we still want to make this a fun environment for football, because everyone will learn. Then we'll still have our culture Tuesdays or whatever. I think there's some part of that as well for this Texas team, that maybe they're being a little more gentle in spring. And I think too, it's, a lot of new guys that are going to get playing time. I saw an interesting thing. Our friends at Third and Longhorn, buddies over there, shout out Nick Shuley and shout out Rob Babers. They had an interview with Michael Taft, And you saw that Michael Taft was almost gone. In his interview, they asked him about the scream in the tunnel, and what was that? And he was like, unfortunately, it got filmed. But basically, I had already told my family that I was going to the draft after we win the title. It's like I was declaring after we won the title. It was already made up. I was done with it. And then we lost, and now I'm thinking between going to tell my teammates that I'm still going to the draft, and I'm telling them I'm handed off to them, but we just lost in all these pieces. You realize how close it was to losing another major piece of that secondary that we've talked about how important Michael Taft's going to be to the secondary, especially now that, you have a completely new coaching staff in that secondary. It's crazy when you think about how quickly these things change. And with the transfer portal happening during it, I think you do have to kind of reteach a lot of things and set that basis that it's not just running drill. We get it. You guys have played football. We'll get you into game shape when we need to get you into game shape. But this really is, we need everybody to be on the same page of what we're trying to do, because it is the turnover is huge right now.
Yeah, I mean, just look at it from position to position. You're going to have a new starting quarterback. You're going to have basically entirely new starting receiving core with Golden and Bond and Silas Bolden all gone. You lose 3 of your top 4 receivers. 4 starters on your offensive line gone. Your entire interior defensive line is going to be new. You're going to have turnover at corner with Jahdae Barron gone, and you're going to, it's a lot to fix. So you want to be meticulous about it. You don't want to do anything that's going to jeopardize, this team growing together. You need, especially offensively, this is going to be a huge offseason for the offense. A new quarterback, new offensive line, new receivers, everything's going to be different. The only thing that's going to be the same is going to be running back, theoretically, but that's, it's going to be different because CJ Baxter didn't play last year. He's never really played with Arch. He's never played behind this offensive line. So that's going to be different too.
I mean, you look at the fact that DeAndre Moore is going to be limited in you're saying Ryan Wingo is the only guy who's caught really passes that's going to be in that main rotation, working with the freshmen at the wide receiver between French and Khalil Lockett. Those are big. It's like you got to start to build that connection, and Arch is going to work with them over the summer, I'm sure, and have all, build all that up. But this is a big point of getting them ready to go, that when these competitions step up, that they're ready to compete for the positions. Sark said when they said, well, Kill Hudson going to be your center, he's like, no, nothing's set in stone yet. Go out there and compete. So I think there will be a piece of competition still in this, but this will be the basis, and we're ready. So when we step day one in next year, or next, once we get to fall, once we step day one, everything's ready to go. And you guys know we're giving you what to work on over the summer. We're giving you all those pieces and making you love football before we go into that.
There's going to be one position on offense that is not going to be up for grabs in competition next year, and that's quarterback. Everything else is in flux. Ryan Wingo, you could argue, will be the starting X receiver. So maybe 2. But outside of that, everything's going to be different. So you have to do as much as you possibly can to get those guys ready. And I think he's doing the right thing.
And I think you do have to set up a little bit more of teaching stuff that you want them to work on during the summer, and really driving home points of these are things that you need to be working on. These are the films you need to be watching. So we're giving you the rule book, or we're giving you the playbook to figure out what to do over summer. So when you guys are there, when you guys do take over, you're ready to do that. And as you get healthier, you're back on the mend and you can start doing it. I also like that he talked about the scrimmages, that he's like, we're still going to scrimmage. We're just not going to scrimmage full games because we don't need to be in full let's go play game mode in spring. So as fun as it is for that to watch and get the reports out of it, we don't necessarily want to have that because it's just wear and tear on guys' bodies that we can't afford to do anymore. And it's also psychologically, we don't necessarily want to put him out in a position that we're set that we have to keep running the football, and a guy fumbles it and we got to put him back out there and he fumbles it. Now we're like, well, crap. We got to keep running. If he fumbles like 3 or 4 times, I don't know if we're ever going to get it back. those are certain issues. If Arch even throws a couple picks, like, okay, well, we just got to try and coach that back out of him. I think there's benefits to it, but I think they're trying to get away from overcoaching a little bit too.
Yeah, and let's be honest. The spring football game was never itself, just the spring game.
Yeah.
Was never about, getting guys reps on the field. It was never about, or what do we look like as a team in mid-April or whatever the case may be. It was always about the fans. And fans getting to see what their team could possibly look like. It has no benefit to the team whatsoever, in my opinion. The stuff that benefits the team is the 15 spring practices or how many spring practices they have and how they maximize what they do in those practices. The game doesn't mean anything. So
yeah,
it's unfortunate for the fans, but at the end of the day, this is what Sark thinks is best, and I tend to trust whatever he thinks is best, even with the exception of a toss on 3rd and long and the 3rd and goal. But outside of that, I pretty much trust everything he says.
He did also was asked about play calling. He's like, no, I'm still doing it. Come on, guys. I've made a few bad play calls, but overall, I think I'm batting pretty good.
and he should still do it because he is still one of the best play callers in America. I think listen, when you're the head coach of the University of Texas and you're calling the plays, no matter how many good plays where, it goes for 50 or it goes for a touchdown and people are like, wow, Sark's in his bag. It's just going to be the 1 or 2 bad play calls that everybody bitches about all offseason long. So
yeah,
I think they're totally fine there.
I love Chan says on the text line, can you both call and talk to the game as part of the show tomorrow? It'll be fun. No, we cannot call the game because it's technically illegal to do. You cannot recreate or rebroadcast the game. So we can't do that. We will give you score updates. We'll let you know what's happening, but we cannot call the game. That's the line we have to walk. That line, we'll walk it tomorrow. I don't think anybody's watching out for us too much, so I think we'll be fine. But yeah, we'll let you know what's happening during the Texas game, and you'll see us get very mad and try. He says no cussing. I'll be trying not to cuss if they pick up a 10-second violation. That'll be hard for me to do. You may see me slam on the mic and run around, get mad, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Why don't we take our second break? I want to come back. I got a couple stories that I saw, and I'm going to try and show pictures of these. I've not tried to do this on our setup yet for our show, but I'm going to try and show some pictures of some interesting things that came out, some stories. If you guys got anything else you want to talk to about, jump those in the chat. You can put that in the chat. You can put that in the text line, 512-222-9328. We'll take a quick word from our sponsors here and come back on Open Gym. Myself, Patrick Davis, and from Texas Longhorns on SI, Matt Galatzan. We'll get back in just a couple of minutes.
Hi, this is Tom McKay, owner of Audiovisual Consultations.
I got this, Dad. This is Camilla McKay, and my dad can help with any TV or stereo needs you have around your house. Just call him, and he will come to you with advice and a great price. And the guys that work for him are awesome. They can install anything, anywhere. So, like my dad says, just relax and smile. We handle all the work.
So just give us a call at 255-8678 or on the web at avconsultations.com.
McCall Custom Homes. If you're thinking about doing a renovation of a bathroom, the kitchen, maybe some extended outdoor space, you want someone who's going to bring you custom renovation. And that's what Mike McCall Custom Homes is all about. Been doing it at a high level in Austin for 40 years. Father-son team with tons of experience, and they care about the details. They care about bringing you custom work because they want you to refer them to your friends. So get over to McCall Custom Homes, ATX.com. McCall Custom Homes, ATX.com. Check out the work. You can check out the work on social media as well at McCall Custom Homes. But you want, when it comes to your home, you want a trusted ally and someone who's going to bring value, added value to your home and a great living experience. And that's what McCall Custom Homes is all about.
BK here for OLIPOP. Man, this stuff is the game changer of all game changers. Their slogan is a new kind of soda, and that's exactly what it is. You get that same great soda taste, but OLIPOP is actually good for you. Inside of every can, a blend of 7 unique botanicals, plant fibers, and prebiotics. You're getting 9 grams of fiber in every can, only 2 to 5 grams of sugar, and man, the flavor is absolutely there. Classic soda flavors like cola, root beer, lemon lime, and Dr. Goodwin. That's their version of a Dr. Pepper, and some other great flavors as well. The grape, the cream soda, the cherry cola. It's all fantastic. I'm telling y'all, OLIPOP tastes just like the soda you grew up sipping, but with the added benefits of microbiome and digestive health support as well. Pick up OLIPOP at H-E-B, Target, Walmart, Whole Foods, and Costco all throughout the Austin area and the state of Texas. And head over to drinkolipop.com. Use the promo code Texas20 for a discount on your first purchase. It's OLIPOP, a new kind of soda.
Back on Open Gym or in Texas Sports Unfiltered on a Tuesday afternoon. Got a few minutes left. NFL did just announce the compensatory picks coming out. The Cowboys got 4 extra picks in this year's draft, 3 fifth-rounders and a 6th-rounder. We can talk more about that tomorrow. But good news for the Cowboys is some more help, some more draft picks, some more guys to go in there and at least fill out the roster, fill out the practice squad without having to spend that money in free agency. They can do it. Cowboys can do it. Let's get on. Let's see if I can do this. I want to show you some things, Matt, that I was enjoying looking at. One of them I was enjoying. I was having a good laugh about it yesterday, and then the story came out today. But if I can figure out where I put these things in my folders. So there was some new hats that came out, and I'll show you first. The first one I saw. We can pull this one up.
There you go.
This is the first hat that I saw. There we go. This is the Astros hat. This is the new type of hat that they've been putting out on MLB. They put out these hats. This is an awful hat. This literally looks like someone accidentally printed 2 hats on one. I don't get it. But we get this awful Astros hat. If you wanted to be an Astros fan, you can get this hat. I don't get it. But it's one of the awful ones that they put on there. Then we can go over. And we'll go ahead and put up another file that we got. This is the Angels version of it, which they got 1 letter away from really being in trouble.
Oh, boy.
Really 1 letter away for the Angels fans here with the almost anals. Terrible hat there, but just completely covers up the G for them. And then there was the hat that got banned today, was pulled down from the shop. When we saw it yesterday, I laughed very hard at this hat. This hat came out. Texas Tetas hats. This is one of the best hats.
I wish I could have seen this and gotten this.
This hat came out, and then apparently everyone let them know that that Tetas are a thing, and they have now pulled this down from the shop site because TMZ's reported they pulled it down. I do think someone should make this for the Texas Longhorns. Somebody should make this with the block T, Texas across. Everyone can wear them when we play Tennessee, so they know who we are. You know, we're the Texas Tetas. And this is by far my favorite. Honestly, I don't know why they took it down, because now someone's just going to do it and make all the money off it. This hat would have been a bestseller by far if you could have put this hat up there. This hat is up there with some solid hats. I got one more that I'll show you. But would you get yourself a Tetas hat there, Matt?
If I knew it existed and it wasn't banned yet, I 100% would have bought it. 100%.
I would get this is the other hat that I was a big fan of that came out last year. This terrible hat from the A's.
Oof.
The ass hat.
How does that happen?
Because it's an A's with the logo over. I don't know how you make this hat.
But I realize the design, like the idea of the design, but how do you put that up? And then it goes to the guy to approve the design to go on the shelves and go on sale, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's fine."
Yeah, because they make these for all the teams, and so they're just ugly hats for most teams. But I feel like the A's, this also came out for the A's who are moving and really drove home, hey, this is what we think about your team and your city. If you want one team left, this is what we're going to give you. The A's ass hats. Just solid. I mean, if you ever wanted to see what an ass hat looks like, this is it. This is it. And I mean, it's solid. We need to talk to BK and see if we can get BK on board to make us some Texas Taytos hats, though. So let me know in the chat if you want to get some. We can get on board with making some of these. I don't know if we have to make it off orange. If you can't make it real orange, be away what we can get away with. I'm sure there's some people who know what you can get away with. But yeah, and then there's another story that came out that I can use my great pictures for. Did you see any of the Big 12 tournaments so far, Matt?
No, I have not watched anything Big 12 related since Texas left in July.
No, the SEC tournament's not happening yet, so I was flipping between that and the ACC tournament today. But in the Big 12 tournament, we saw the Big 12 commissioner, Brett Yormark, has decided to bring out a new court for Texas for the Big 12 championship. And you're like, it's kind of weird looking, right? But he was like, this is it. This is our new court. This is what we want to do. So from a distance, it doesn't look great, but it's also not the worst thing in the world. But when you get closer to it, it's a bunch of 12s. It's just a bunch of 12s.
That's an interesting choice.
And then he said, this is for the student athletes. This is for the kids. We're showing them. So not putting their school names on there, not putting their names on there, but just putting a bunch of 12s. I liked Brett Yormark. I thought he was much better than what had been there as the management and who is running the Big 12. I know at the end it got a little vicious because of his relationship with Texas Tech, but all of that, I thought he was doing a pretty good job. And then we see this awful court that comes out, and it feels more. He also says he wants to push the tournament to 76 teams, which why do we need more teams in there? Like,
absolutely
I get
ridiculous.
I would love Texas to be in, but I don't need them to be in so bad to ruin the joy of the tournament and ruining it when it's fun. I don't need that. But this court, it's not fun to watch basketball on it. It looks weird. It feels like it would be not fun to play on too, because when you're getting like the 3-point line, I know it's black, but I don't want any extra markings on my court when I'm playing.
No, this just feels like a gimmick. It's like the blue field at Boise State or the red field at Eastern Washington or the teal field at Coastal Carolina, or like those weird NBA in-season tournament ones. Like I can barely watch those games because the court is so awful. So I don't know what he was thinking there. I will not be watching another Big 12 tournament game. I can tell you that.
No, I mean, I'll watch some of it because I watch a lot of basketball, but I just want to, we'll just go back to this because this will make it. This is palate cleanser. This is the best hat that I'm so sad. I don't know why they had to get rid of it. They said it was a slur or said it was a cuss word. And I'm like, that's not a cuss word. I mean, I guess you couldn't have like the Oriole tits or the Baltimore tits. If they're like an Oriole's kind of like a bird. Like, I guess you couldn't have that. So maybe that's the problem. But I really,
the problem.
Somebody needs to make this hat for Texas, for the Texas Longhorns. It's close enough. You just get the block T in the middle there. I think this is the way to go with this one. I do want to get into tomorrow. I'll try and get some pictures up of some of the restaurants, some of the food that's coming out of ballparks, and get everybody's rankings on what they think about the food at these ballparks, as they are god awful and disgusting. I know my man CB sent me a video of a woman drinking with her hot dog straw, her drinking her beer with her hot dog straw, which is disgusting, but we'll maybe put that one up there tomorrow too. And really get in the mood for baseball. Baseball tonight, the Longhorns taking on UT Arlington at 6:30. That team, just go ahead and see if our man Zeke can get his prediction right of 14-1. Last non-conference game before we get into conference play against Mississippi State over the weekend. Matt, before we get out of here, prediction for tomorrow against Vanderbilt, since it'll be on when we get on. Do you have a prediction?
I'm going to go with the Texas loss just because every time I've said they're going to win a game, they've lost the game. So I'm going to go with a loss, hoping that I'm wrong again and they win, but we'll see.
Yeah, look, I said yesterday, and I don't know if it was very well received. I was like, no, I think they beat Vanderbilt and then lose to A&M, which is not also a fun reality, but I think they can get the win tomorrow. We'll be on tomorrow when that game is still happening. So if you want to join us, if you're not able to watch it because you're at work, we'll be at least recounting what is happening and keeping you up to date with what's happening with that. And then afterwards, we'll get into, and during, in all these pieces, we'll be talking more about what's happening in NFL free agency. We'll be talking more about Texas football, Texas basketball, Texas baseball, their big game tonight against UT Arlington, and whatever else. Sports stories come up. Maybe get into Tiger Woods and his torn Achilles. Oh, awful. Terrible.
Tiger right here.
Well, his career may be over. It may be officially done now. Maybe on the senior circuit, but we appreciate you, Matt. I'm glad to have you back on the show. Glad you're feeling good. We're gonna take off tonight. We'll be back tomorrow with more. But until then, be kind, be safe, keep your underwear clean, and we'll see you right back here at 4 p.m. for more from Open Gym.